Hello and welcome everyone back to another round of the Virtual Drift Championship. This is round 5 at Luddenham Raceway, and this is the top 32 main event. My name is Craig. With me as always is Tanner. What's up, Tanner?
What is going on, Craig? And hello, chat and everyone watching. If you guys missed qualifying, well, y'all, after this, go back, rewatch it, because it was absolutely crazy, especially with the Rookie of the Year taking the #1 spot with a 98 in run 1 and then a 98.8 matching Alan Hynes, but having the better first run score and taking that top spot. And then we got into the last 16 battles, which were absolutely fantastic. And I think only one that would have originally made it into the top 32 made it through. The rest would have been knocked out, and we wouldn't even seen them in competition.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at today's top 32 main event bracket there, and sort of how we got there. Vitaly, look at there, #1 qualifying position, as you said, 98.8. We did have another 98.8 as well, Alan Hynes over there in the top right-hand side of the bracket as well. Austin Zalewski there in the bottom left with that 4th position, and Tikhon Polessky in 3rd. So Alan and Tikhon both leading the championship could meet each other in the final 4. But Vitaly has quite the path in front of him as well as Austin and Sullivan in that bottom left-hand portion of the bracket. But up first will be the left-hand side, so Vitaly Isaev and Reaves, Linus Törnqvist and Ernestes Jakubelis, Daniel Andrejev and Abdurrahman Alshetwi, Nico Stelea and Vladislav Yakulevich, all up in our first group. But before we send them off, if you missed qualifying, here is today's line map. Very important line map through that chicane and down the medium run up as they initiate in really with as much speed as they can sort of have. But there is a long decel zone there. It doesn't mean lead drivers, can park it in that area. They need to still use as much speed as they possibly can and then pick up throttle quickly as they enter in that first big outside zone, or turn 1. Transitioning across the track, a little off throttle moment there allowed from those lead drivers before picking up throttle in outside zone number 2, and then working their way up that hill and transitioning across the track using a mid-line there, leaving outside zone 2 and heading into outside zone 3, then down a little valley there for clip 4 and transitioning once more with a tiny little off-throttle area allowed by that lead driver for that massive outside zone of clip 5, and then transitioning once more with a big decel zone. But again, drivers need to make it as smooth as they possibly can, use angle in the car rather than slamming on those brakes. Just a quick transition and then floater on out to clip number 7, filling it all the way, and then working your way around that inside clip, staying off that inside rumble strip, and then working your way to the outside before crossing that finish line at clip number 9. So again, I think we have our first drivers at the line waiting, ready to go.
We sure do. Our #1 qualifier in the lead lane, Vitaly Isaev, up against Reaves in that Corvette in the chase lane, making his way from the last 16 battles, and now he's here. The lights go on in top 32. The Virtual Drift Championship is underway. Initiating in is Vitaly Isaev, but look at Reaves all over the door off the initiation through turn 1, outside zone 1. And now we move into outside zone 2. Again, Dijon still on the attack, but a good drive line, lead line. I'll get there eventually. Lead line from Vitaly Isaev through outer zone 3, now down the hill through 4 and to the long outer zone 5. And look at Dijon just slowly reeling in Vitaly, getting right on that door, not leaving the pocket, and leaving no room for error here in this first half of the run. They finished it out side by side, and if that's the start to the day, well, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, a very clean start to the battle here in the top 32. Vitaly lining off early and filling outside zone 1, but Rampage can't be shaken back in that chase position. Bumper to bumper through the first transition, working their way up the hill now on a good line, good midline from Vitaly in that lead position, opening the door for Dijon to stay right there with him. Bumper to bumper once more through outside 4, now into 5 and riding that track edge. Dijon right there with him in chase, backs off for that transition. Nicely done, right up along the door of that Z4 out front and across that finish line. What a start.
What a start indeed, and we still have another half of the battle that's sitting under the start gate. Dijon Reaves will now lead it out while Vitaly will chase him down. While we wait for those lights to ignite, the drivers patiently start and wait, and there they go. It's on, and the second half of this battle's underway. John initiates in, looking good off the initiation. Vitaly right there with him, though, mimicking the chase to lead from run to run. Now they transition over to outer zone 2. Dijon on a good lead run here. Vitaly putting the car exactly where it needs to be as they transition up the hill to outer zone 3. And coming around outer zone 3, nice and clean, transitioning along the bumper through outer 4, now into outer 5. Look at the aggression from Vitaly in the chase, gives his door a little touch just before they leave the zone, and then into outer zone 6 and 7. One inside clip to go, one final outer zone to go, and this battle comes to a conclusion.
Oh,
and
goodness.
wow.
Will we have a conclusion? Let's take another look. Reaves initiating in, filling outside zone 1, but Vitaly right there in that chase position where he needs to be, bumper to bumper through that first transition. We see Seto freak out a little bit with the hands of Dijon Reaves out front, but Dijon locked into that lead line. Transitioning through outside zone 4 into outside zone 5 now. Look at there, a little bit of a waiver, but Vitaly and Dijon keep things going. Good transition to finish things off as well around that inside clip, filling the last and final outside zone. What a battle here in the top 32. And we go to our judges. Vitaly on the left, Dijon on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16.
Well, cut me off at any point. The judges do start sliding, but again, it's something.
Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, Vitaly gets the win. Unanimous, quick decision from all 3 of those judges. Vitaly getting the win.
Say my thought.
I know, they were so fast.
Well then, we'll move on, I guess, quickly to our next battle. Congratulations, Vitaly. Moving on over to Dijon Reaves, as now we have Linus Törnqvist in the JZA80 Supra in the lead lane, up against Ernestus Jakubelis in the JZA90 Supra in the chase lane. Oh, see, they want to be fast about making a decision, but now when it comes time to turning on the light, yeah. Just said my thought by now, but now the lights are finally on. Here we go, Linus Törnqvist in that lead lane with Ernestus chasing him down, initiating in, maybe a little touch there. Yes, definitely touching happening through outer zone 1. Linus not getting as deep into outer zone 1 as he probably wanted to, and that maybe what Ernestus was expecting leading to that contact. They make it through outer zone 2 nice and clean as they start heading up the hill towards outer zone 3. Still all over the door is Ernestus in that chase position as they come through the Manji section and into outer zone 5. Good proximity from Ernestus in that chase. They leave just enough room for the transition into outer zone 6 and 7 through that inside clip. Look at Ernestus all over Linus's door.
Yeah, he sure was. We'll take a second look at it. I think you called it right there through that first outside zone. So we see Linus initiate in. He picks up throttle, but doesn't quite fill outside zone number 1, which can be an indicator of not quite, maybe having enough speed to get all the way out there deep into the zone. But they continue on. Ernestus kind of pushes him through it. They work their way up the hill now. Ernestus still right there in the pocket of that Supra out in front. Linus Törnqvist filling outside zone 5 now, right along that track edge, leaving that zone, making a good final transition and filling outside zone 7, getting around that inside clip. Look at there, door to door across that finish line.
Now back around at the start line. Ernestus will now lead them out. Linus will chase him down. They get the light to go, and off they go for the second half of their battle, initiating in. And whoa, the aggression from Linus right off the bat is already all over the door into outer zone 1. Now they transition to outer zone 2. Linus giving him no breathing room. Bernestis is on a great lead run so far here. Maybe not leaving enough room for that transition into outer zone 3. It looked a little late by both of them as they come down bumper to bumper across the transition to outer zone 4 and outer zone 5. A little door tap there from Linus into Ernestus as they leave outer zone 5, transition to 6 and 7. He gets that A90 slowed down, but the A80 hasn't left his door as they finish out the second half of this battle.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Ernestas out front. Nice snappy initiation, getting all the way out there to that track edge out front in the A90 Supra along that yellow line. But Linus doing a good job in that chase position. Look at the dive there for outside zone number 2. Bumper to bumper through that second transition, heading up the hill. Working their way back down it, filling outside zone 4. Linus still right there. Look at that dive and a little bit of a nudge there in outside zone number 5. Filling 6, filling 7 as well. Nicely done for the inside clip, but we see Linus finds himself a little bit on the inside of that rumble strip. We go to our judges. Linus on the left, Ernestas on the right. Winner will move on into the top 16. So we do have a one more time from Chris, but Ed and Carl both go right for Ernestas Jakubelis, and he takes the win, moving on into the top 16.
Yeah, we'll see Ernestus later on up against our number 1 qualifier, Vitaly Isaev, as our next battle is at the line, ready to go here for the top 32. Daniel Andrejev in the lead position, being chased down by Abdulrahman Alshetwi in that Nissan Z beside him in the chase. The lights go on and off they go down the straight. Initiating in is Daniel Andrejev. Right with him is Abdulrahman Alshetwi as they come through outer zone 1. Daniel right along that track edge, but look at Abdulrahman shoving him through outer zone 1, going, hey, I want you to go a little faster here. Coming through outer zone 2 now, still door to door and wheel to wheel as they make their way up to outer zone 3. Daniel still on a great lead run, putting that car exactly where it needs to be, but Alshetwi giving him no breathing room on any of these transitions. Any chance he gets to put it on the door, Alshetwi's right there to make sure that's his car on the door as they come to that final inside clip now to the final outer zone, and they finish out nose to tail.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay here. Daniel Andrejev out front leading Abdulrahman Alshetwi. Nice smooth initiation from Daniel out front, filling outside zone 1 nicely, but as you pointed out, getting shoved a little bit there by Alshetwi in that chase position. Good dive there into outside zone number 2 as well. Good, decent line coming up the hill from Daniel out front, making sure to keep that midline back down the little valley there for outside zone number 4, working their way through outside zone number 5 now, and Alshetwi trying to apply some more pressure. They work their way around that last and final turn, and we see there get a little bit of out of whack around that inside clip.
Well, now we'll see what happens in the second half of this battle as Abdulrahman Alshetwi now leads things out with Daniel Andrejev ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of this battle to claim yet another spot in the top 16. Initiating in is Alshetwi. Daniel right there with him as they come through outer zone 1. A little deeper into outer zone 1 Alshetwi could have been, but Daniel sticks to his door as they come into outer zone 2. And there it is, right along the track edge for the lead driver. But the chase still keeping in touch, keeping that BMW right on the door of that Z as they come through outer zone 4, make the transition towards outer zone 5. Look at that, door to door, wheel to wheel through outer zone 5, leaving no room for that transition into outer zone 7 through that inside clip, getting shoved around a little bit is Daniel to Alshetwi as they finish up this run. And what a run indeed.
Yeah, holy smokes. Let's take another look here. Nicely done for outside zone number 1 from Alshetwi out front, but Andrejev applying some pressure. Good dive here in the outside zone 2, and then just does not let up from here. We see Alshetwi a little bit track right before making that second transition into outside zone number 3, cutting off Daniel, but Daniel says, I don't care, and keeps things going. Matches line and angle here perfectly through outside zone number 5, and then this final transition and just planting it in the pocket of that C out front, and there they go across that finish line, finishing out their top 32 battle. Holy moly. Daniel Andrejev on the left, Abdurrahman Alshetwi on the right. Winner goes to the top 16. Yeah, there it is. Daniel Andrejev, unanimous decision, getting the win over Abdurrahman Alshetwi. Holy smokes.
What a battle that was. I mean, both of them were just so consistent. And while I'm waiting for the next drivers to come in, I'll get my thought in is, you know, as much as we sit here and we give these guys, you know, oh, he qualified 8th, he qualified 25th. In the VDC, like, that's just, that's just numbers. All these guys are more than capable of winning every event, and it just shows the level of competition. So sometimes I feel bad when we put the numbers on them, because it's like, even though we see Dijon and Vitaly, like, both of them are just as equal drivers. But to the battle at the front, at our start gate, that is Nico Stelea in that FD RX-7 being chased down by Vladislav Yakulevich in the BMW. They initiate in. Huge initiation for Nico Stelea right along that track edge, though, but Vladislav Yakulevich all over his door as they come out of outer zone 1 and transition to outer zone 2, wheel to wheel and door to door through outer zone 2, up the hill towards outer zone 3. Vladislav keeping that big BMW right beside the tiny looking FDRX7 as they come through outer zone 4 and transition to outer zone 5. And look at that proximity from Yakulevich in the chase as they transition into outer zone 6 and 7 towards that inside clip. Up on the rumble strip goes Yakulevich just a little bit, but they finish out side by side.
Yeah, clean run. Let's take another look at it here. Nico Stelea out front. As you said, big initiation, big angle as well, but he makes it work. I mean, just locks into the angle and the throttle as well, just sticking it to that first outside zone, number 1, number 2 as well. Yakulevich right there in chase. Good transition up the hill right along that bumper and putting it right into the pocket of that smaller RX-7 out in front of him. Good transition for outside zone number 5 as well. And just planted to the door of Nico out front. You got to do it against Nico. Got to put everything on the line, and he does. And it might pay off here. Well, we've got a second half.
We sure do. Still something to make of this battle. Who knows who's going to win? Vladislav Yakulevich now in the lead lane. Nico Stelea ready to chase him down. Lights go on, off they go, initiating in. Looking good for Yakulevich out front, but Nico Stelea right there with him as he tries to hang on through outer zone 1, leaving just enough room for that transition. He's right on the door of Yakulevich as they come out of outer zone 2 and up towards outer zone 3. Nico not giving him any breathing room. Yakulevich trying to put on the perfect lead run here as they come into outer zone 5, and there's Nico doing the exact same thing Yakulevich did to him, but a little close on the transition. Was that contact? I couldn't tell. It was just the camera angle made it look like it was, but that was insane.
Absolutely bonkers. Let's take another look. Vladislav out front. The M2 initiating in with Nico right there in the pocket through outside zone number 1. Staying with him nice. Sets up for that first transition and just bang on the door immediately as they enter outside zone number 2, and then makes another good dive there for outside zone number 3. Staying aggressive, backing off for the transition once more for 4 and into 5, and look at there, just pops out behind the small hill there, and here we have that contact through that last and final transition. They keep things going though, but that will, you know, maybe decide the battle here. Judges are gonna review and we'll have a decision. Nico on the left, Vladislav on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. What a tough battle. There it is. All three judges go right for Vladislav Yakulevich. He gets the win over Nico Stelea, but what a battle, all coming down to just that tiny mistake.
That's the level they're at, though, right? Is all it takes is one little thing, and that's it. You're ruined. You got to be on it every single battle. And, well, with this next group loading in, it's how it goes at this level of competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you have to go for it as well, especially when you lead first and you have that chase car really playing it on your door around that entire run. You got to do the same or better if you want to have any chance of winning. But there it is. Our top left-hand side of the bracket is complete. Vitaly Isaev and Ernestas Jakubelis move forward, and Daniel Andrejev and Vladislav Yakulevich. But up next, Austin Zalewski and Ethan Pitrakou, Lazam Esau and Darius Ostreika, Zach Sullivan and Brett Wolford, and Daryl Diaz and Balrupe Purewal. All up next in our next group of top 32.
Well, at the line is our first battle. This is going to be Austin Zalewski in the Toyota Supra in the lead lane, up against Ethan Pitrakou in that Nissan Z in the chase. The lights go on and this battle's quickly underway. Initiating in is Austin, looking good off the initiation. Ethan right there with him though as they come through outer zone 1. Leaves enough room for the transition into outer zone 2. Dives back up onto the door of Austin, but leaving that room because he knows he's got to transition one more time up the hill here to outer zone 3. Gets back on the door and leaves the room for the Manji section. Barely leaving any room there as they come into outer zone 5. Both these drivers door to door and wheel to wheel as they come through outer zone 6 and 7 now into that inside clip. Beautiful driving by both of these guys here.
Yeah, another top 32 battle. Here we go on the replay. Austin Zalewski initiating in with Ethan right there in the pocket. Following that Supra through outside zone number 1, backs up, but then makes a huge quick time in outside zone number 2. Does back off just a little bit, but then makes another good transition for outside zone number 3, sacrificing a little bit of line of angle, leaving outside zone number 3, but it looks like it pays off into outside zone number 5 as he stays alongside. Good final transition as well from both of them. Ethan backing up a little bit, gets around that inside clip, and there they go across that finish line.
Back around at the start line and ready for the second half of their battle. Ethan now leading, Austin ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating it is Ethan right with them. Oh, a little too hard, goes into the door. Austin sends it into the door of Ethan off the initiation, putting him into the dirt, but somehow Ethan recovers and they keep the run going through outer zone 2 up towards outer zone 3. Ethan still putting that car exactly on the track edge. Austin settled into it now. He's able to mimic and start matching what the lead's doing. Dropping a tire is our lead of Ethan as they come through outer zone 5. They transition into outer zone 6. Some more contact there in the front end as they come through that inside clip and cross the line.
A scrappy second half. Let's take another look here on the replay. Ethan out front, initiating in, and all looks well until that contact from the chase position. They continue on like it never even happened in the outside zone 2 now. Austin right there in that pocket, staying with him. Good line up the hill as well. Maybe a little bit far trek right, but nothing egregious as they work their way down into the little valley for outside zone number 4, now up into 5, and we see some tire drop there from Ethan out front in the Z. Last and final transition, nice and smooth and dial, but a little bit on the inside is Ethan around that inside clip, and we go to our judges. Austin on the left, Ethan on the right. Winner will move on into the top 16, or maybe they send him again. I wouldn't mind it. But they do not. Ethan Pitrakou gets the win over Austin Zalewski in a tough battle between those two.
Well, a big congratulations to Ethan, moving on through not only from the last 16 battles, but now up into the top 16 as we go to see who will see Ethan in the top 16 with this battle here. Lazamazau in the lead position up against Darius Ostreika in the chase lane. The lights come on and this top 32 battle is underway. Down the straight, Lazam initiates in right with him. Darius Ostreika leaving a bit of room off that initiation, but quickly gets up onto the door of Lazam in that lead lane. They make the transition over to outer zone 2, and Darius just hanging with them, sticking right there in the pocket as they transition up to outer zone 3. Lazam keeping it right along the track edge. Darius, again, in that chase, doing everything right so far. Maybe a little contact there on the transition to outer zone 5, but matching the speed and angle through outer zone 5 nicely. Now it comes down to getting that car slowed down. The lead of Lazam drops 2 tires, gets it back on track, finishes out the run.
Now let's take another look on the replay. Here in another top 32 battle, Lazam out front and doing a good job with outside zone number 1. Darius reeling him in towards the back half of that zone and then making a dive for outside zone number 2. Not quite locked into the angle is Lazam, but he gets it done on that transition up the hill and filling outside zone number 3. Darius still right there in tow and into the pocket for outside zone number 5. Staying with him nicely, matching line and angle. Good transition. And there we see a little bit of tire drop from Lazam. He goes wide of that inside clip, but finishes out the run strong.
Well, now back around at the start gate, we're ready for the second half of this battle. Darius Ostreika in the lead now in the BMW up against that A90 of Lazam. The lights go on in the second half of the battle is underway. Darius initiates in and very quick on the initiation, almost leaving Lazam behind at the start there. Lazam finally manages to catch up though. Halfway through outer zone 1, they make the transition to outer zone 2. Lazam backs out of it and then regains that proximity as they come up towards outer zone 3. Up and over the hill. Lazam's right there on the door as they come into the Manji section now through outer zone 4 down to outer zone 5. A big surge from Lazam pushing Darius Ostreika through outer zone 5, leaves just enough room for the transition into outer zone 6 and 7. They come through that outer final inside clip to the final outer zone, and wow, Lazam was pushing them through those last few outer zones.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take another look. Darius off to a really good start down the run-up, but then Lazam quickly puts it on his door through outside zone number 1. Here we go in outside zone number 2. Now another nice dive from Lazam. He backs up. Now Darius quite a bit far track right heading up the hill, but Lazam says once more, I don't care, and keeps things going, stays there right in outside zone number 5, giving him a little nudge, adding a little bit of angle to Darius's run as they work their way through the last and final turn now around that inside clip and across the finish line. We go to our judges here between these two. Lazam on the left, Darius Ostreika on the right. It looks like we have maybe a decision here. Chris going right. We have a one more time, and Carl going right for Darius Ostreika as well. Darius moves on into the top 16. Tough battle.
Very tough battle indeed, and the tough battles aren't going to stop. They're not. Every battle is going to be hard. We're making the judges work today as we have our next battle. Up at the line, underneath the start gate, in your lead lane, that E36 BMW. That is going to be none other than last year's champ, Zach O'Sullivan, up against the Mustang of Brett Wolford in that chase lane. The lights come on, and the first half of this battle is underway. Down the straight, initiating in. Zach O'Sullivan with a huge lead off the initiation. Brett Wolford quickly catches up, though, halfway through outer zone 1 as they leave outer zone 1 almost door to door and transition over to outer zone 2. Zach coming through outer zone 2 with Brett right along the door as they make their way up to outer zone 3. Brett offline, dropping a tire into outer zone 3, quickly regains himself and catches back up through the Manji section, but then hits Zach O'Sullivan once more into outer zone 5. Zach sticks with it and keeps the foot planted. So now it's just Brett Wolford playing the catch-up game once more as Zach comes through that final outer zone with Brett Wolford not far behind.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Zach off to a really good start on that initiation, but as you pointed out, Brett really quickly before they start going uphill in that outside zone number 1. Good transition into outside zone number 2. Brett sacrificing a little bit of line and kind of sets himself up there wrong, heading up the hill and dropping some tire in outside zone number 3. Gets right back into the fight though, heading into outside zone number 5, but there we see some more contact. Maybe going a little bit too aggressive in the outside zone number 5, but there's Zach working his way around that inside clip and across that finish line.
And now we get to see the second half of their battle and who moves on to fill yet another spot of the top 16. Brett Wolford in the lead lane being chased down by Zach O'Sullivan now. The light goes on and off they go for the second half of their battle. Down the straight, initiating in is Brett Wolford. Right with him is Zach O'Sullivan, leaving a pretty good distance, but really reeling him in about halfway through outer zone 1. Lots of angle for that transition Brett Wolford throws, so Zach preemptively sees it and then jumps back on the door near the exit of outer zone 2. They come up to outer zone 3. Zach's all over the door of Brett Wolford as they come through outer zone 4. Now transition up to outer zone 5 along the bumper. Brett goes off track. It upsets Zach just a little bit, but he makes up for it as they make the transition. Another off track for the lead of Brett Wolford, leading to a little bit of a tap there from the chase of Zach. And although scrappy run, I still think it's something the judges can work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Brett out front this time here in the second half on this replay. Nicely done for outside zone number 1, putting that wheel along that track edge. Zach right there in tow, backing up for that first transition, then makes quite the dive there in outside zone number 2. Good line heading up the hill. Zach setting up for that transition. Almost perfect for outside zone number 3. Following Brett through, filling outside zone number 5. And here we see Brett drop a little bit of tire into outside zone number 5. It does upset Zach just a little bit, but they continue on. Brett once more dropping a little bit of tire there in that outside zone 7, and there they go across the finish line. We'll go to our judges here between these two. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Brett Wolford on the right. Winner goes on into the top 16. And there they go, left for Zach O'Sullivan, unanimous decision over Brett Wolford, and we'll see Zach in the top 16.
We definitely will, but now we need to find out who Zach will be facing in the top 16. And that brings us to our last battle of the left-hand side of the top 32 bracket. Daryl Diaz in the lead lane in the S15 being chased down by the S13 of Balrupe Purewal. They initiate in, and what a speedy entry. Goes 2 wheels off for Daryl Diaz. He somehow recovers it, gets it back on track, and gets back to what he needs to do, keeping it right along the track edge, not off the track edge. They transition out of outer zone 2 into outer zone 3. Balrupe Purewal's still been all over his door as they transition down through outer zone 4 up to outer zone 5 now. Balrupe slowly reeling him in, keeping him in touch, keeping that door right there as they make the transition through outer zone 6 into outer zone 7. A little bit of tire drop there from the lead of Daryl Diaz, but they finish out the run.
Yeah, flying down the straight was Daryl Diaz. Let's take another look here, initiating in and just cooking through that first camera view into outside zone number 1, but continues on, gets right back onto the track, and Balrupe stays with him through outside zone number 2. Good line heading up the hill, opening the door for that chase position is Daryl Diaz, filling outside zone number 3 now. Good bumper to bumper transitions through the Manji section of the course. Balrupe staying right there in that pocket of that S15. Last and final transition, staying with him nicely through the inside clip and across the finish line.
Well, I'm back at the start line, ready for the second half of their battle. Balrupe Purewal now in the lead, up against Diaz, who will be chasing him down. Who will go on to see Sullivan in the top 16. The lights go on, and the second half of this battle's underway, lighting up the tires all the way from the gate, initiating in. Balrupe looking good off the initiation, keeping it right along that track edge. Diaz sticking right to the door of Balrupe as they leave outer zone 1 down to outer zone 2. A huge surge and off track for that chase driver, Diaz, as they come out of outer zone 2 up to outer zone 3, and now through outer zone 3 through the Manji section down towards outer zone 5. Diaz trying to keep Balrupe in touch and not lose any ground as he backs off just enough for that transition. Does make contact coming into that inside clip. And wow, what a run between these two.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Purewal out front, good initiation, drops that speed and picks up throttle and puts that wheel along the track edge for outside zone number 1. Diaz right there in that chase position, good dive into outside zone number 2, but we see him drop a little bit of tire, but bumper to bumper through that second transition into outside zone number 3. Purewal still on a really good lead run so far. Good transition into outside zone number 5 as well, riding that track edge all the way through that big outside zone, and then almost some contact in that final transition, and there we have it just before that inside clip. And there they go, finishing out their top 32 battle. Now we go to our judges. Diaz on the left, Balrupe Purewal on the right. And there it is, unanimous decision. Purewal getting the win over Diaz, and we'll see him in the top 16. But there it is, on the left-hand side of the bracket. In the top 32 is complete. Vitaly Sullivan or Nestas Yakulevich move forward and will face each other in the top 16. Daniel Andrejev and Vladislav Yakulevich, as well as Ethan and Pitrakou and Diaz. And finally, Sullivan and Balrupe Purewal will meet in the top 16. But before that, the right-hand side of our bracket. So up next, Alan Hynes and Brandon Patrick, Stanislav Tarasov and Mustafa Amine, Ethan Minnema and Luciano Carneiro, Cameron Mustard and Dimitri Mitin up in our next group of top 32 battles.
It looks like we're hopping right into it. Already pulling up to the line is Alan Hynes in the lead lane in that Team RTR Heinze Mustang, up against Brandon Patrick in that BMW Z4. It's the first of the right side of the bracket of the top 32 battles. As the lights turn on, and this battle's underway. Down the straight they come, initiating it is Alan Hynes. Right with him, though, is Brandon Patrick as they come through outer zone 1. Alan doing a great job putting it right on the track edge as they transition up to outer zone 2. Brandon Patrick keeping it right there on the door of Alan Hynes, so as they transition up into outer zone 3. Alan Hynes right along the track edge this whole time. They transition for outer zone 4 up into outer zone 5. Look at Brandon Patrick just getting right onto the door of Alan Hynes. They leave outer zone 5 down to outer zone 6 and 7. Brandon's giving them no room for error as they come through the final outer zone, and they finish off nose to tail.
Oh my goodness. Here we go. Let's take another look. Alan Hynes out front, initiating in, picking up throttle and riding the track edge for outside zone number 1. But Brandon Patrick right there in the pocket of that RTR Mustang and diving into the door in outside zone number 2. Good transition up the hill as well. So they work their way through outside zone number 3 now and filling 4. And here I think we do have a little bit of contact getting pushed through that outside zone number 5. And honestly, I think Alan might have needed it there. It sounded like just a little lazy on the throttle input for outside zone number 5, but they stick it, and we have a second half of this insane battle here in the top 32.
A second half indeed. Brandon Patrick now in the lead lane, and Alan Hynes ready to chase him down in that RTR Heinze Mustang. The lights go on in the second half underway. Initiating in already, Brandon Patrick trying to get as far out ahead of Alan Hynes as he can, but Alan Hynes quickly grabs the door of that BMW as they leave outer zone 1 and transition to outer zone 2. Alan's wheel to wheel with them through outer zone 2 as they make the transition up the hill to outer zone 3. That big Mustang, Alan's piloting it beautifully as they come down the hill, transition along the bumpers. Little late to get to angle was Brandon Patrick in the lead, but Alan sticking right with him as he throws a bunch of angle into outer zone 7. But Alan isn't upset by it, puts that tire on the door, and they finish out almost side by side.
Yeah, let's take a second look. I think we even had contact through that transition heading into outside zone number 5, but here they go through outside zone number 1. Alan right there in the pocket of the smaller Z4 into outside zone number 2 as well. Good line heading up the hill. Great transition by both of them into outside zone number 3. Here they go down the little valley for 4. And right there, I do think we have just a little bit of contact in that transition, but they continue on sort of like it didn't happen. Final transition, picking up that throttle. We see a little tire dip from Brandon out front going wide inside clip. And there they go, finishing out their top 32 battles. Do we have a winner? Alan Hynes on the left, Brandon Patrick on the right. Yeah, they are taking their time here. Will we have a one more time?
Yeah, this one's, I mean, it's hard to deliberate, right? Just small, minor things here and there. You know, Alan's initiation was almost perfect where, you know, he threw a lot of angle at it, but it worked out for him. It's gonna come down to something small.
Or not. We have a one more time. Carl does go right for Brandon Patrick, but we have a one more time from Chris and Ed. They're going to line it up again here in the top 32.
I mean, a battle worth running a second time. These two are absolutely insane. And our first one more time of the day, where we look back at, you know, the last round where I think we were already at 10 by this point. So it just shows how much that this track, you're able to see just the smaller little things that could really make or break a run. Now we get to see this one more time. Alan Hynes in the lead lane, and the Team Hynes, the RTR Mustang, up against Brandon Patrick in the BMW Z4 in the chase lane. We're doing it again. The first one more time in the top 32 of round 5, the Virtual Drift Championships. The lights go on, and Alan stalls it. I had such a good intro, you two. All right, let's line them back up and try this again. Blah, 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 blah. Virtual Drift Championship, round 4. The first one more time battle. The lights go on. And this time we get a good start. Alan Hynes out front. Brandon Patrick chasing him down. Initiating in. Looking good off the initiation. Brandon Patrick right on the door of Alan Hynes through Outer Zone 1 as they leave it now and transition into Outer Zone 2. Brandon Patrick sticking his wheel on the door of Alan Hynes through Outer Zone 2 as they make the slow climb up to Outer Zone 3. Alan Hynes right along the track edge of Outer Zone 3 as they come through Outer Zone 4. Transition along the bumper to Outer Zone 5, and look at that! Brandon Patrick right into the door of Alan Hynes, no contact, stays there, makes the transition for Outer Zone 6 and 7, and then just loses.
No! Alan, where'd you go, bud? Oh my gosh. He fully lagged out. Was that, you know, Let's see what replay we do have. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. We are going to pick it up a little bit late because, yeah, I was too shocked to hit the button. Here they go into outside zone number 4, into number 5. Yeah, and dude, the way Brandon planted it onto the door of Alan Hynes was absolutely insane. Yeah, not quite getting across the finish line is Alan Hynes. Boy, oh boy, and hearing over, Discord that, he just disconnected.
He's reconnected now to the server.
Yeah, put that in the script.
Wow. So, I mean, at the end, Alan never actually crossed the finish line, so that'll be a 0 on Alan's run, which all Brandon has to do is keep it together.
One would assume, right?
One would assume. So here we go. After what would have been an exciting end to the first half of the battle, we now have the second half of the one more time battle. Brandon Patrick, Alan Hynes initiating in, and look at that, Alan Hynes already causing a little bit of contact there through the start of outer zone 1. Then they get out of outer zone 1, maybe still some lag happening on Alan Hynes' side as they come through outer zone 2. Alan Hynes right on the door of Brandon Patrick. They transition up the hill to outer zone 3. Alan Hynes is being aggressive here. He has not left the door of Brandon Patrick, as look at that, gets right up to the door of Brandon Patrick, leaves just enough room for that transition. Brandon kind of hucks it in backwards a little bit, maybe slowing himself down a little bit, and that's why you see Alan Hynes pushing him through the last 2 clips.
Wow, that's one thing. Alan is still gonna put on a show. My goodness, check out this chase run, getting pushed through outside zone number 1, and staying with it is Brandon Patrick. Out front, Alan Hynes in that chase position right along the door of the Z4 through outside zone number 2, transitioning up the hill now, filling outside zone number 3, working their way down into the valley for 4, filling it. And a good transition across and planting onto the door is Alan Hynes in the RTR Mustang. Last and final transition around that inside clip, pushing him across that finish line. We'll go to our judges to make it official. Alan Hynes on the left, Brandon Patrick on the right. And there it goes. Brandon Patrick gets the win and finds himself into the top 16 over Alan Hynes due to that disconnection. That is insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, it sucks when we see a driver lose like that, especially at this level of competition when it comes down to something out of your control. But, you know, the rules are rules, and here we are with Brandon Patrick now into the top 16. And we move on to the next battle to see who will go see Brandon Patrick in the top 16. Will it be Stanislav Tarasov in the Mercedes AMG GT, or will it be Mustafa Amine in that Nissan Z? Both at the line and ready to go for their battle. The lights go on and off they go. Stanislav off to a good start, initiates in, looking good off the initiation, a little deep, but he makes it work as Mustafa keeps right in touch with them off of that, off the initiation, the transition from outer zone 1 to outer zone 2, keeping alongside that door, trying to be as close as he can as they come up through outer zone 3, and then down towards outer zone 4 and up towards outer zone 5 in that little valley. And look at Mustafa just keeping it right there, right in touch, not too close, not too far away, through outer zone 6 and 7. A little further back is Mustafa Amine as they finish out that run.
Yeah, good, clean start. Let's take another look. Stanislav out front, initiating in, picking up throttle early and staying along that track edge through outside zone number 1. Mustafa doing a good job in that chase position, makes a good dive there in outside zone number 2. Maybe a little tap there through the zone and transitioning up the hill now. Right along that track edge for outside zone number 3. filling 4 and into 5. Mustafa right there in that pocket of the Mercedes. Good final transition, nice and clean. Backing up just a little bit is Mustafa trying to reel him back in, and there they go across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, Mustafa Amine will now lead them out. Stanislav will chase him down. The lights go on in the second half of this battle's underway. Who will go see Brandon Patrick in the top 16, initiating in. Mustafa out front, dropping a bit of tire and driving off of the zone just a little bit. Not leaving it, but just not as deep as he should be. Stanislav managing to stick with him, though, through all of outer zone 1 and 2 now. As they transition up the hill to outer zone 3. Stanislav keeping it right on the door of Mustafa Amine as they come out of outer zone 3 into the Manji section up towards outer zone 5. And lots of angle there from Mustafa, but Stanislav in that chase, matching him beautifully as they come through outer zone 5, 6 and 7 now through the inside clip, pushing out to the finish.
Yeah, let's take another look on the replay. Mustafa out front, burning him down the run up, picking up that throttle and dropping tire just a little bit there in the first outside zone right when that rumble strip ends, and continuing on into outside zone number 2. Tarasov right there in that chase position, bumper to bumper through that transition up the hill, now filling outside zone number 3, keeping things going, filling outside zone number 4, and a good smooth transition into outside zone number 5, and some good angle into outside zone number 5 as well. Solid transition, but kind of going backwards and pulling back out of it is Mustafa out front before crossing that finish line. And we'll go to our judges. Stanislav Tarasov on the left, Mustafa Amine on the right. And there it is, Stanislav taking the win over Mustafa Amine in a pretty smooth top 32 battle between those two.
Very smooth. And he gets to go see Brandon Patrick in the top 16 later as we move on to our next top 32 battle. Ethan Minnema in the E36 in the lead lane up against Luciano Carneiro in that the BMW F2220, one of the two, initiating in. Looking good for Ethan out front, keeping it right near that track edge, but Luciano Carneiro right there with them through outer zone 1 as he makes transition along the bumper through outer zone 2 they come. One more transition up the hill. Nice and clean on the yellow line is Ethan Minnema, but Luciano all over him as they come down the hill and back up it for outer zone 5, leaving a bit of room, but quickly Luciano gives him a little love tap to let him know I'm right here. As they come into outer zone 6, dropping tire for the chase. Out of outer zone 7, they come through outer zone 8 and cross the line.
Yeah, Luciano kind of falling off the back of the course there in that second to last outside zone. Let's take another look here on the replay. Ethan dialed into outside zone number 1. Good transition into outside zone number 2. Luciano right there in the pocket of the E36 out front. Good transition in line. Moving up the hill now, filling outside zone number 3. Luciano again, bumper to bumper through both of those transitions, and then right back into the pocket for outside zone number 5. Maybe a little tap there, and then final transition. And yeah, just falling back just a little bit, maybe having to get on the brakes a little bit there in that last and final outside zone.
Well, let's see what happens in the second half of this battle. Luciano Carneiro now in the lead lane. Ethan Minnema ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of this battle. Initiating in, looks good for Luciano off the initiation. Ethan Minnema, though, all over the door through outer zone 1. Look at that, has his tire planted on Luciano's door as they transition to outer zone 2. Through outer zone 2 they come, door to door. Now transitioning up to outer zone 3. Luciano doing a good job in the lead here, but Ethan Minnema's all over him as he leaves just enough room for the transition to outer zone 4. Now into outer zone 5. Look at Ethan keeping it planted to the door, leaving just enough room for that transition. Throwing it backwards almost was Luciano into outer zone 7, but it doesn't upset Ethan and sticks with him right to the end.
Yeah, right back to that replay. Luciano out front, throwing that F22 in and picking up throttle, but Ethan almost pushing him through outside zone number 1, nice and smooth in the outside zone number 2. Now Ethan right there in that chase position, backing up for that transition, heading up the hill, filling outside zone number 3 again. Ethan staying right with him, bumper to bumper through both of those transitions, and then heading into outside zone number 5, super close through that entire outside zone number 5, nice and smooth on the final transition down to the inside clip, and a little nudge there around that inside clip. We go to our judges once more here in the top 32. Ethan on the left, Luciano on the right. There it is, quick decision from all 3 of those judges. Ethan Minnema takes home the win, and we'll see him in the top 16.
So Ethan Minnema advancing on to the top 16 as we come to the last battle of the top right-hand side of the top 32. Before we get into the bottom right-hand side, and this will be none other than Cameron Mustard in the lead lane up against Dimitri Mitin, chasing him down in that BMW. Lights go on, and this battle's underway. Cameron in the R32 initiates in. Good initiation from Cameron, getting it right out to the track edge, but right on his bumper. Dimitri Mitin on the door through outer zone 1, leaves just enough room for the transition as they come through outer zone 2, up the hill towards outer zone 3. Dimitri keeping it locked onto the door of Cameron Mustard as they leave outer zone 3, down the hill towards outer zone 5. And look at that surge from Dimitri Mitin. Had to back out of it halfway through outer zone 5 to make sure he didn't make contact. Now the transition into outer zone 6 and 7 to that inside clip and finishing it out wheel to wheel.
And right back to that replay. Cameron Mustard out front in the R32 in a big initiation. Good speed, picks up throttle early, but Dimitri right in that chase position, following him through outside zone number 1, bumper to bumper through that first transition. A little hesitant, maybe picking up throttle and that angle from Cameron Mustard in that second outside zone, but then continuing on for 3, 4 now as well, and into 5 with that dive from Dimitri in the chase position, staying with him, backing up for that final transition, and somehow peeking around that rear bumper, and there they go across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, Dimitri Mitin now in the lead lane for the second half of this battle. Cameron Mustard ready to chase him down. The lights go on and the second half is underway. Down the straight, initiating in. Dimitri looking good off the initiation. Cameron going a little too hard though, making contact with Dimitri into outer zone 1. It doesn't upset Dimitri though, and they keep going wheel to wheel through outer zone 2. Then transitioning up the hill to outer zone 3. Not filling all of outer zone 3 though is Dimitri Mitin. Not as deep as some of the guys have been. Then they come through 4 and into outer zone 5. And Cameron just trying to match that angle and speed through outer zone 5. They make the transition down through outer zone 6. And now towards that inside clip all the way out to outer zone 7. And he finishes almost side by side with them.
Now let's take a second look here. Dimitri Mitin now out front in the second half of their top 32 battle, and a big dive from Cameron, giving him a little nudge, and maybe what led to Dimitri dropping a little bit of tire there in outside zone number 1, being super aggressive in outside zone number 2 now. And we see Dimitri a really far track right before making that second transition up the hill for outside zone number 3 through 4 now into 5. Cameron Mustard trying to reel him in through this big long outside zone number 5, across the bumper for the final transition and up on the door of Dimitri Mitin out front, and there they go, finishing out their top 32 battle. And we go to our judges. Cameron Mustard on the left, Dimitri Mitin on the right. And there it is, Cameron Mustard getting the win over Dimitri Mitin and finding himself in the top 16, where he'll have to face Ethan Minnema. So there is another group of the top 32 done and complete. Brandon Patrick getting the win over Alan Hynes, as we saw Alan Hynes sort of just disconnect from the server or lag out. Maybe we can get a little bit more information on that and see what actually happened there. And then Stanislav Tarasov getting the win and moving on into the top 16. Ethan Minnema as well and Cameron Mustard will face each other in the top 16. But first, Tikhon Polessky and Ebanks, Robert Kwiecinski and Alexander Jägard, Victor Lasheras and Braden Swan, Artem Chulkov and Maxime Tengai, all up next here in the top 32. Talk about Grand Prix. Fun fact, I own 2 GTPs.
Show off.
Oops.
All right, well, looks like our drivers got that last call, and now they're on their way to the line. So, Tikhon Polessky up against Ebanks. Tikhon in the BMW, Kwiecinski in the R35. Now, Tikhon and Alan are very close in the championship, and now with Alan being out in the top 32, it's up to these guys to see how much further they can get to Alan before the final round. If not, there is a chance of surpassing him, I believe. But that's only if one of them wins it. So here we are, top 32. Tikhon Polessky in the lead. Ebanks chasing him down. The lights go off, and on they go for their battle, initiating in. coming in with some crazy aggression into outer zone 1. But Tikhon putting that BMW exactly where it needs to be along that track edge. They transition to outer zone 2. Keeping it right along the door as they transition up to outer zone 3. Tikhon pretty much at the track edge through outer zone 3 as they come through outer zone 4 and up towards outer zone 5. Ebanks trying his hardest just to keep that R35 directly on the door of Tikhon Polessky. They come through outer zone 6 and 7, get slowed down through outer zone 8, and finish out the run side by side.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay. Tikhon out front initiating in, and maybe getting a little bit too aggressive, ending up a bit on the inside and hits his rear along the door of Tikhon Polessky. But they continue on through outside zone number 2 now, right along the bumper for that second transition up the hill, filling outside zone number 3 and back down the valley for 4 and up into 5. The big outside zone. Staying with him is Ebanks in that chase position, and a good smooth last and final turn around that inside cliff and across the finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line. Ebanks now in the lead. Tikhon Polessky ready to chase him down. The lights go on in the second half of this battle's underway. Initiates in. Tikhon right there with him as they come through outer zone 1. Tikhon gets right on the door as they come through outer zone 1 and then transition through outer zone 2. Tikhon almost pushing him through outer zone 1, having to back out of it quite a bit out of outer zone 2. Catches back up to the door through outer zone 3 though as they come down the hill through outer zone 4, up the hill to outer zone 5. Tikhon putting the door right on Ebanks' door. They transition for outer zone 6 and 7 now. Tikhon giving them no room to breathe as they finish out side by side.
Now let's take another look on the replay. Ebanks out front in a quick initiation, quickly picking up throttle as well, but Tikhon Polessky right there in that chase backs up a little bit for this first transition and then right back into the door of that big GTR out front, working their way up the hill now. Good transition into outside zone number 3, and filling that outside zone, but Tikhon applying some pressure through the Manji section of the course and into outside zone number 5, almost pushing him along, backs up for the final transition and makes it smooth around this inside clip, staying right there with the GTR and across that finish line. Tikhon Polessky on the left and Ebanks on the right. Do we have a winner here in the top 32? And there it is, unanimous decision from all three of those judges. Tikhon Polessky gets the win over Ebanks and moves forward into the top 16, where I do think he might take the championship points lead over Alan Hynes, as he was only, I believe, 2 points back.
It was a little more. And now, obviously, Alan got some points, too. I've been keeping my eye on this whole thing. So once I have a better update here, I'll let you know. But so far, not yet. Almost, though. Almost. So now we move into our next battle. Robert Kwiecinski up against Alexander Jägard. Robert in the A90 Supra, Alex in the E90 BMW as they initiate in through Outer Zone 1. Alexander not as deep into Outer Zone 1 as he could have been, but Robert doing a great job through Outer Zone 1. They transition to Outer Zone 2, where he drops a bit of tire through Outer Zone 2 as Robert. So Alexander trying his best to stick with them as they come through Outer Zone 3, now down to Outer Zone 4, up the hill to Outer Zone 5. Alexander trying his hardest to keep it on the door of Robert as they leave Outer Zone 5, transition back down the hill to Outer Zone 6 and 7. Lunging a little too quick was Alexander in that chase, but he managed to slow it down before hitting him. What an interesting battle that was.
Let's take another look. Robert out front being chased down by Alexander Jägard and working their way through this first outside zone. Good transition across into outside zone number 2 as well, all the way out to the track edge until a tiny little tire drop from Robert out front, and then almost dropping tire there for outside zone number 3. I don't know how he get that thing on the track as they fill 4, and a tight transition through that Manji section, and then a slow reel from Alexander Jägard in that chase, reeling him right back in for this last and final turn and almost making some contact.
So here we are back at the start gate. Alexander Jägard now in the lead lane. Robert Kwiecinski ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of their battle to see who will be up against Tikhon Polessky in the top 16. Quick initiation for Alexander Jägard, dropping some tire. Robert Kwiecinski sticks to a more inside line and is basically pushing Alexander through outside zone 1. They make the transition into outer zone 2. Robert having some trouble matching that angle through outer zone 2 as they make the transition up to outer zone 3. Alexander putting it beautifully on the track edge, but now Robert's starting to settle in a little bit. They come through the Manji section into outer zone 5, where Alexander is starting to pull ahead quite a bit. Now they're carrying a lot of speed down and up the hill through outer zone 6 and 7. Going up on the rumble strip is Robert in that chase, but they do finish out the run.
Yeah, and right back to the replay. Alexander Jägard out front in a snappy initiation, but just can't work himself off that rumble strip. Drops just a little bit of tire there in outside zone number 1, almost getting pushed by Robert in the chase position, but Robert sacrificing a little bit of angle. They're in that chase position, working their way up the hill now, and almost pushing him off the course there in outside zone number 3. Now back down to 4, up into 5, and a good job there through outside zone number 5. But we do see a little tiny tire drop once more from Alexander Jägard before leaving that big outside zone number 5. Doesn't really affect the run, and there they go across that finish line. Now to our judges. Robert on the left, Alexander Jägard on the right. And there it is, unanimous decision. Alexander Jägard takes the win over Robert Kwiecinski and moves on into the top 16, where he'll have to face Tikhon Polessky.
So Alexander moving on to face Tikhon in the top 16. 2 spots remain in the top 16, and only one of these two can advance on to fill one of those 2 spots. The first one being the right one this time. Victor Lasheras in the FCRX7 in the lead lane, up against Braden Swan in that 370Z in the chase lane. The lights go on, and this battle is underway here for the top 32. Victor initiates in and looks good off the initiation, trying to hold it right along that track edge. Braden Swan losing touch a little bit through outer zone 1, but still keeping it in the pocket as they transition over to outer zone 2. Now wheel to wheel through outer zone 2, up the hill, transitioning to outer zone 3. Victor keeping it as close to that track edge as he can, down to outer zone 4. Braden Swan not giving much breathing room here, especially when they come into outer zone 5, where Victor starts to pull away just a little bit. They come through outer zone 6. That's where Braden makes his dive to try and get back up onto the door of Victor Lasheras as they finish out that run.
Yeah, good start to another top 32 battle. Check that initiation out. Nice and snappy from Victor Lasheras out front, and does a good job with outside zone number 1. Brandon Swan right there in the pocket for outside zone number 2, following him up the hill, backing up for the transition, and then reeling him in quickly for outside zone number 3, staying with him through 4 as well, and into 5, where Victor stays on throttle and stays on that track edge, pulling away just a little bit from Braden Swan, filling outside zone number 7 around the inside clip and across that finish line.
Well, back around at the start gate and ready for the second half of their battle. Braden Swan now in the lead. Victor Lasheras ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of this battle. Lighting up the tires all the way down the straight, initiating in. Braden Swan looking good off the initiation. Victor sticking right with them through outer zone 1, almost pushing him through outer zone 1. They make the transition into outer zone 2 now as he rides that track edge all the way around the lead driver, Braden Swan, but Victor not giving up or giving him much room to work with here for error as they transition down to outer zone 4, then 5. And look at Victor pushing ever so closer to get to that door of Braden Swan. They transition down the hill, carrying a lot of speed. They make it through the final outer zone and finish out nose to tail.
Yeah, let's go right back to the replay here. Braden Swan out front, Victor Lasheras giving chase, initiating in nicely. Nice and fast through outside zone number 4. Victor staying right there with him. A couple of little bobbles here and there. Now working their way through outside zone number 2 and up the hill. Good line from Braden Swan, opening the door for Victor Lasheras and filling outside zone number 3. Back down the small hill for 4 and back up into outside zone number 5 and keeping it on track all the way through that big outside zone, and bumper to bumper, almost over rotating out front is Braden Swan, but somehow he makes it work. There they go across that finish line, and we go to our judges. Victor Lasheras on the left, Braden Swan on the right. And there it is, Victor Lasheras getting the win over Braden Swan and moving on into the top 16. Nice clean battle between them two.
Clean battle indeed as we move over to our final battle of the top 32. One spot remains in the top 16 and only one of these two can advance on. Artem Chulkov in your lead lane up against Maxime Tingai in the chase position in the 1 Series BMW. Down the straight they come, initiating it is Artem, looking good off the initiation. Maxime right there with them though as they come through outer zone 1. Door to door out of outer zone 1, leaving that room for the transition to outer zone 2. Maxime quickly gets back up into the pocket as they leave outer zone 2 and up towards outer zone 3. Artem Chulkov driving a nice lead line here so far as, almost not enough room Maxime left for that transition. A little bit of contact down to outer zone 4, but now into outer zone 5. Maxime really trying to get up on the door of Artem Chulkov. They come through outer zone 5, 6, and 7. And Maxime's still right there in the pocket as they cross the finish line.
Yeah, let's check it out one more time here on the replay. Artem Chulkov initiating in. Nice and smooth, picking up that throttle right along that track edge for outside zone number 1. And Maxime's right there in that chase position, right there with him. Good transition into outside zone number 2 and quickly reeling him in. Maybe a little bit of netcode contact there, leaving outside zone number 2, and here they go into outside zone number 3. That transition, yeah, you can see them rubbing against each other just a little bit, bumper to bumper through that transition into outside zone number 4. Nicely done for 5, and final transition filling outside zone 7 around that inside clip and across the finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, ready to start the second half of their top 32 battle. Only one moves on. Maxime now in the lead. Artem ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go. Maxime initiates in. Artem right there with him, trying to find the angles. Maxime puts it right to the track edge through outer zone 1 as they get ready for the transition to outer zone 2. Artem now starting to attack, getting right up onto the door. Maybe even a little love tap there to Maxime through outer zone 2 as they transition into outer zone 3. Maxime leaving outer zone 3 just a little bit early. Not quite to the track edge, but makes it work as Artem transitions right along the bumper into outer zone 5 and is trying to keep Maxime in touch as they transition down to outer zone 6 through 7 in the inside clip. Artem on the door as they come through outer zone 8 and they finish out side by side.
Oh my goodness, let's take another look here. Maxime out front, nice fast initiation, picking up that throttle and riding the track edge for outside zone number 1. Artem doing a good job in that chase position, quick dive and onto the door in outside zone number 2. Maybe some contact there as well. Now filling outside zone number 3. Good job for 4, 5 both, and then snappy transition into 5. Artem right there in that pocket, but a couple of bobbles here and there trying to stay behind that 1 series around the inside clip, nice and smooth across that finish line. We go to our judges between these two. Artem on the left, Maxime on the right. Last and final battle here in the top 32. Do we have a winner? And we do. Artem Chulkov taking the win here in the top 32, moving on into the top 16 to face Victor Lasheras. So we'll take a look at our top 32 bracket that is now complete before heading on into the top 16. Vitaly Isaev and Ernestas Jakubelis, Daniel Andrejev and Vladislav Yakulevich, Ethan Pitrakou and Darius Ostreika, Zachel Sullivan and Balrike Purewal, Brandon Patrick and Stanislav Tarasov, Ethan Minnema and Cameron Mustard, Tikhon Polessky and Alexander Jägard, and Victor Lasheras and Artem Chulkov. Again, take your screenshots if need be. We're going to take a small short break here from our wonderful partners, and we'll be right back with the top 16 for round 5 here at the Luddenham Raceway. All right, and welcome back. We are now into the top 16 here for round number 5 at Luddenham Raceway. Let's take a look at the top 16 bracket. Ooh, that needs quite the refresh. One moment. There we go. There's the right top 16 bracket. Vitaly Isaev and Ernestas Yakulevis up next, and Daniel Andrejev and Vladislav Yakulevich, Ethan Pitrakou and Darius Ostreika, and Zacho Sullivan and Ball Purewal all up next here in the top 16. So that whole left-hand side of the bracket getting their practice runs in now, and we'll bring Vitaly Isaev and Ernestas Yakulevis to the line.
Well, here we go. The start of round 5's top 16. Vitaly Isaev in the lead lane up against Ernestas Yakulevis in the 890 Supra, ready to chase him down. The drivers wait patiently for those lights to come on, and here we go. The top 16 is underway. Vitaly initiates in, Ernestas right there with them, maybe adding a little bit of contact into the mix through outer zone 1. Doesn't shake up Vitaly too much, does drop a tire because of it. They come into outer zone 2. Ernestas really trying to surge up onto that door through outer zone 2. They transition up the hill towards outer zone 3. Vitaly right along that track edge. Ernestas right along the door as they transition through outer zone 4, then into 5. And look at Ernestas putting it on the door, giving him a little love tap, saying, I'm right here, as they come through outer zone 6, then 7 through the inside clip. Ernestas not backing down from Vitaly.
Yeah, let's go right back to the replay. Vitaly out front, initiating in and getting a little tap there. Might have led to a little bit of tire drop off of the back of outside zone number 1, but they continue on like it never even happened, filling outside zone number 2, working their way up the hill. Good transition. Ernestas right there, still in that chase position in the pocket of the Z4 out front. Good transition for outside zone number 5, and staying right with him through that entire outside zone, giving small little nudges there. Final transition, filling those 2 outside zones around the inside clip, and there they go, finishing out the first half of their battle.
Now to see the second half of their battle. Ernestas now in the lead. Vitaly ready to chase him down. Vitaly, our number 1 qualifier today, and hoping to get even further in the championship, but could Ernestas stop that? As they initiate in, looking good for Ernestas off the initiation, right along that track edge. Vitaly right along the door through outer zone 1. They leave outer zone 1 to transition to outer zone 2. Vitaly makes that surge back up onto the door of Ernestas as they leave outer zone 2. Up towards outer zone 3. Ernestas right along that track edge of outer zone 3. Vitaly right there with them, though, as they come down through 4 and up to 5. And there is Vitaly getting it right on the door of Ernestas. He leaves just enough room for the transition to outer zone 6, then through 7, and they come almost to a stop through that inside clip before getting back on throttle and making their way through outer zone 8 and crossing the line.
Yeah, it was quite the reduction in speed. Let's take another look here. Ernestas out front. Good job through outside zone number 1, filling it all the way out to that track edge. Vitaly in that chase position, making the dive for outside zone number 2, working their way up the hill now. In outside zone number 3 along that track edge. Vitaly still in that chase position, staying right there along the bumpers through those transitions, working their way through outside zone number 5 now. Matching line and angle nicely is Vitaly without making contact. And there, yeah, quite a bit of speed, a little bit of extra brake there to get around that inside clip is Ernestas, and we go to our judges. Vitaly on the left, Ernestas on the right. Winner moves into the top 8, and we do have a decision. Chris and Ed and Carl all moving left for Vitaly Isaev, and we'll see him in the top 8.
So now on to our next battle. Daniel Andrejev, Vladislav Yakulevich. Daniel in the lead lane. Vladislav ready to chase him down to see who will go up against Vitaly in the top 8. The lights go on and this battle's underway. Daniel leading things out, initiating in. Vladislav trying to match him through the initiation into outer zone 1 and manages to do so as they leave outer zone 1, transition up to outer zone 2. Wheel to wheel through outer zone 2. Vladislav is putting on the pressure early here in the course as they come through outer zone 3. Daniel Andrejev through outer zone 4 into 5. Vladislav Yakulevich really keeping him in check as he rides the door all the way through outer zone 5, down through 6 and 7, through the inside clip. Vladislav not giving him an inch of room as they cross the finish line.
Yeah, good start to this top 16 battle. Daniel Andrejev out front, coming off a round 4 win and looking solid here through outside zone number 1, but can't shake Vladislav through it. Bumper to bumper through that first transition and into outside zone number 2. Vladislav still right there with him along the bumper once more, heading into outside zone number 3. Now staying with him through that zone at the top of the hill, through 4 as well. Nicely done for 5, and maybe a little bit of tire drop. We did see a little bouncing up front from Daniel Andrejev, and the smoke line quite disappear, but there they go across that finish line. Tough one to call, but we've got a second half to the battle.
Still that second battle indeed, and here it is at the start line. Vladislav Yakulevich will now lead. Daniel Andrejev will now chase him down. The lights go on and the second battle is underway. Initiating in, Vladislav Yakulevich looking good, but a tap there from Daniel in the chase going into outer zone 1. Maybe too much speed, or maybe Yakulevich slowing down too much as they come into outer zone 2 now, still wheel to wheel and door to door up towards outer zone 3. Daniel not giving him an inch of breathing room. Maybe another tap there into outer zone 3. They come through outer zone 4 upwards to 5. Daniel on the attack here, putting it right on the door of Vladislav as they transition to outer zone 6, now into 7, get it slowed down for that inside clip all the way out to outer zone 8. They finish out side by side and almost on the grass.
Let's take another look. Big initiation, but some contact there from Daniel Andrejev in that chase position through outside zone number 1. They continue on with the contact anyway. Outside zone number 2, nicely done. Nice and smooth up the hill. Good transition, filling outside zone 3 now. Yeah, I don't know if it was just a little bit of a tap or Vladislav hanging on to that line a little bit too long, dropping a little bit of tire off the back of outside zone number 3, but they continue on, filling outside zone number 7 around that inside clip and finishing out the run door to door. Let's go to our judges. Do we have a winner here between these two? Daniel Andrejev on the left, Vladislav Yakulevich on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8 to face Vitaly Isaev, which, if Daniel moves forward, we'll have a finals rematch in the top 8. And there it is, unanimous decision. Daniel Andrejev earning the win over Vladislav Yakulevich and moves on into the top 8, where we'll have a round 4 finals rematch between Vitaly Isaev and Daniel Andrejev. But up next, Ethan Pitrakou and Darius Ostreika.
That'll be a one that'll be exciting to see here in just a little bit. But first, Darius Ostreika in the lead lane, being chased down by Ethan Pitrakou in that Nissan Z. They're ready to duke it out to see who will take one of the remaining spots in the top 8. The lights go on and off they go. Initiating in is Darius Ostreika. Ethan sticking right there with him, maybe going a little far inside for Ethan, but he manages to get it right up on the fender as they leave outer zone 1 into outer zone 2. Ethan puts it back on the door out of the exit of outer zone 2, now up to outer zone 3. Ethan giving him no breathing room here. for Darius Ostreika out front. They come through outer zone 4, now into outer zone 5. Darius dropping some tire onto the entrance of 5, which might slow him up a bit. So you see a bit of wavering coming from Ethan there in that chase, trying to adjust for it. They come through the next 2 outer zones clean, miss the inside clip, but finish out the run.
Yeah, there was a couple of awkward areas here in this lead run from Darius Ostreika. We see him initiate in. It could have used maybe a little bit more angle. He does make it work, but then gets shoved through outside zone number 1 by Ethan. Pikachu reels him in quickly for outside zone number 2. A little bit far right is Darius out front, and then working their way through outside zone number 3. And then here we see, oh, okay, so a little bit of contact there, bumper to bumper through that transition heading into outside zone number 4, which definitely could have led to being a little bit offline there heading into outside zone number 5. And there they go around that inside clip and across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, ready to go for the second half of their battle. Ethan will now lead. Darius is ready to chase him down. Only one gets to move on, though, as the lights go on and the second half of this battle is underway. Lighting up the tires from the start gate, initiating it is Ethan. Darius right there with them, matching him into outer zone 1. Ethan not going as deep into outer zone 1 as he could have. They leave outer zone 1, transition to outer zone 2. Ethan now right on the track edge of outer zone 2. Darius just keeping it right there in the pocket, waiting for an opportunity as they come through outer zone 3 and down to outer zone 4. A good proximity here from Darius as you see him get right up on the door and having to back out of it and then regain that proximity as they transition into outer zone 5, 6, and 7 now. Darius again having to keep backing out of it and then make his way back forward.
Yeah, let's go right back to the replay here in the top 16, second half of this battle. Big angle from Ethan out front for outside zone number 1. Fills it nicely. Darius Ostreika staying right there with him, going after a dive here in outside zone number 2. And here we see Ethan really far track right, almost putting a wheel to that inside rumble. Not where we want to see that lead position himself as it cuts off that chase, but Darius deals with it nicely and then deals with that as well. I don't know if that was a bit of a decel from Ethan. It is allowed a little bit of off throttle there as you complete your transition for outside zone number 5, but they continue on anyway, and we go to our judges. Ethan on the left, Darius Ostreika on the right. And there it is, quick unanimous decision. Darius Ostreika taking the win over Ethan Pikachu, and we'll see him in the top 8.
We'll see Darius Ostreika in the top 8, but who will join him in the top 8? Only 2 left on the left-hand side of the top 16 bracket. Pulling up into the lead lane is last year's virtual drift champion Zach O'Sullivan up against Balrupe Purewal in the chase lane in the S13. Only one can move on to see Darius Ostreika in the top 8. The lights go on and that battle's underway. Down the straight, Zach Sullivan initiates in. Balrupe right there with the big contact into outer zone 1, sending Zach around. Oh, man. Little loss for words on that one as Zach gets tagged there into outer zone 1, spins him right around. But there's still a second half to this battle. Maybe Balrupe just wanting to get at it a little too much. We'll leave it to the judges to decide if it was Balrupe's fault or if Zach maybe slowed down too much, but it looked clean to me.
Yeah, let's check it out on the replay. Zach O'Sullivan going for the initiation. Yeah, and Purewal a little bit on the inside line as well. Not quite as deep as he could have been in that first outside zone. It'll really come down to if Zach was on throttle again or not, and on time. But I think so. I think it was really just a Purewal sending it in like a madman. But he continues on, finishes out the run, but that does end the run short. So we'll go straight to the second half of our battle.
We definitely will. The second half's already back at the start gate, waiting to go. Balrupe Purewal will now lead. Sullivan will now chase him down. The lights go on for the second time. One advances on to the top 8. Let's see what happens in the second half here. Balrupe initiates in. Better on the initiation this time, right to the track edge. Sullivan just keeps it right in the pocket, right in touching distance as they transition up to outer zone 2. And through outer zone 2 they come. Balrupe doing a good job here in this second half as the lead. Could have been a tad deeper into outer zone 3, but Sullivan just doing everything he needs to do in that chase position. Not getting too close, not being aggressive with it, just leaving it there in the pocket where he knows he's there. If a mistake happens, he can capitalize on it. A lockup there from Balrupe in the lead just before that inside clip, but they finish out the run.
Yeah, let's take a second look at the second half of their battle, initiating in with a ton of speed, but maybe just slightly late from Purewal. So they fill outside zone 1 and now outside zone 2. A good line heading up the hill as well. Right smack dab in the middle of the course is Purewal Zach, chasing him down through the Manji section of the course, bumper to bumper through those transitions, and then staying with him through big outside zone number 5. Last and final transition. They keep it smooth around that inside clip. Could have been a little bit tighter from Purewal, but there they go, and we go to our judges. Zach on the left, Purewal on the right. Is quite the decel zone on that first outside zone after you initiate. Got to pick up throttle on time, and judges say they picked up throttle on time. Sullivan getting the unanimous victory over Balrupe Purewal, and will face Darius Ostreika in the top 8. So let's take a look at our top 16 bracket, where the left-hand side is complete. Vitaly Isaev and Daniel Andrejev will face each other in the top 8, and Darius Ostreika and Sullivan as well. But before that, we finish our top 16. The right-hand side of the bracket: Brandon Patrick and Stanislav Tarasov, Ethan Minnema and Cameron Mustard, Tikhon Polessky and Alexander Jägard, Victor Lasheras and Artem Chulkov, all up next on the right-hand side of the bracket. All right, and our next battle at the line, ready to go: Stanislav Tarasov and Brandon Patrick.
Yes. Stanislav in the lead lane in that Mercedes AMG GT up against Brandon Patrick in that BMW Z4. They initiate in, looking good off the initiation. As Stanislav keeps it right on the track edge. Brandon Patrick sticking with that big-bodied Mercedes in that little one Z4 of his as they come up the hill towards outer zone 3. Stanislav doing a good job here, but Brandon Patrick keeping that car exactly where it needs to be in that chase lane as they transition along the bumper. Now Brandon really starting to close that gap and get on the door, but the speed of that just Stanislav's Mercedes is absolutely wild through outer zone 5, but they make it through outer zone 8. They finish out that run side by side.
Yeah, and right back to that replay. First half of the battle. Stanislav out front, filling outside zone number 1 with Brandon Patrick right there in the pocket of that bigger Mercedes, following him through outside zone number 2 and up the hill. Now, good line right in the middle of the course is Stanislav. Nicely done for outside zone number 3 at the top of the hill. Brandon Patrick right along the bumper through the Manji section of the course and staying with him through outside zone number 5. They are cooking through it and down into the last and final turn around that inside cliff. And there they go, finishing out the first half of their top 16 battle.
And now they're ready to go for the second half of their top 16 battle. Brandon Patrick in the lead lane, Stanislav Tarasov ready to chase him down. The lights go on in the second half of this battle's underway. Initiating it is Brandon Patrick. Lots of angle into outer zone 1. Slowed it down quite a bit, but Stanislav right there on the door through outer zone 1. They make the transition to outer zone 2. Stanislav quickly gets back up in the pocket and right along that door of Brandon Patrick as they come into outer zone 3 along the track edges. Brandon Patrick as they go through outer zone 4, now up to 5, but Stanislav giving him no breathing room. A couple little taps here and there just to say, hey, I'm still right here. A big flick of angle through outer zone 6 and 7, but it doesn't upset the chase, and they finish out the run side by side.
Yeah, well, it did a little bit. We saw quite the tire drop there in outside zone number 7. Let's take another look here. Could have been a little bit deeper at the beginning of outside zone number 1 is Brandon Patrick, but works his way out to that outside line. Fills outside zone number 2 now with Stanislav right there in the pocket of that C4, working their way through outside zone number 3 about as deep as you could possibly be. Out front is Brandon Patrick filling 4 and heading into 5 now. Cooking along the big outside zone with the Mercedes right there, and here's that transition in right there. A little bit of tire drop in that chase position, but he bounces right back onto the track and into the pocket of Brandon Patrick. Let's go to our judges. Brandon Patrick on the left, Stanislav Tarasov on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8. So a split call. We have a one more time from Chris. Ed goes right for Stanislav Tarasov, and another one more time in the middle from Carl. So we're going to line them back up here in the top 16. Are we... I think we're going to run Ethan and Cameron first before the one more time. I have to wait and see what's going to transpire here. Yeah.
All right, looks like we are running Ethan and Cameron Mustard first. Ethan in the lead lane in the E36 up against Cameron Mustard in that R32. They initiate in, looking good through outer zone 1. Cameron Mustard in the pocket and on the door through outer zone 1, leaving enough room for that transition into outer zone 2. Quickly regains that proximity that's lost in the transition point. Then up to outer zone 3, Ethan Minnema right along that track edge. Looking good so far, but Cameron all over him, not letting him have any room for mistakes as he gives him maybe a little touch, had to back out of it, and now to regain that proximity through outer zone 6 and then 7. Gets through that inside clip, but look at Cameron Mustard all over Ethan Minnema. What a good run.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take another look on the replay here. The first half of their top 16 battle. Ethan initiating in. Could have been a little bit deeper in the beginning part of outside zone number 1, but Cameron Mustard says, I don't care, and stays right there in the pocket, following him into outside zone number 2 and working their way up the hill, bumper to bumper through that transition. Cameron Mustard applying pressure in outside zone number 3, matching line and angle beautifully as they work their way through outside zone number 5. You know, I don't know if there was any contact, but Cameron Mustard definitely had to back out of it just a little bit and then make another dive here in the last and final turn. And there they go across the finish line.
Well, now back at the start line, they're ready for the second half of their battle to see who will take one of the remaining spots in the top 8. Cameron Mustard now leads things out. Ethan Minnema ready to chase him down. The lights go on in the second half of the battle's underway. Initiating in, Cameron Mustard off to a good start, maybe dropping a little bit of tire into outer zone 1. Ethan Minnema right on him, though, as they leave it and come into outer zone 2. Ethan not giving him any breathing room through outer zone 2. Now they make the transition up to 3, and Ethan hasn't left the door of that R32. They make the transition down to outer zone 4, now into outer zone 5. Ethan losing a little bit of ground, but not much. Needs to leave that room for the transition to outer zone 6 and 7. And Ethan quickly gets back on that door as they're going to finish out side by side.
Yeah, let's take a second look at the second half. Cameron Mustard initiating in, picking up that throttle and riding that track edge for outside zone number 1. Ethan right there along the bumper through that first transition and into the pocket of that GTR out front. R32 working their way up the hill now. I'm not sure how Ethan didn't drop tire back there in that chase position heading into outside zone number 3, now into 5 and following him along. Matching line and angle pretty good there. Last and final transition could have been a little bit deeper on that zone 6 and 7, a little wide of the inside clip, and then winding out of the angle quite a bit before crossing that finish line. And we go to our judges. Ethan on the left, Cameron Mustard on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8. And there it is, a quick decision, unanimous victory for Ethan Minnema over Cameron Mustard, and he'll move on into the top 8.
Well, big congrats there to Ethan, as now we have our first one more time battle of the top 16 coming back to the start line. Stanislav Tarasov in the lead lane in the AMG GT up against the BMW Z4 Brandon Patrick. Brandon fought his way through to get to where he is now. I'm sure he wants to keep on going. The lights go on and off they go. The one more time battle underway, initiating in, Stanislav out front, Brandon right there with him through outer zone 1, gets up onto the door through outer zone 1, leaves just enough room for that transition into outer zone 2. Looking good for our lead around that track edge of outer zone 2 as he makes the transition up to outer zone 3. Brandon Patrick leaving no breathing room here as he contends with that big-bodied AMG. Through outer zone 5 on the door is Brandon Patrick. Now the transition to outer zone 6 and 7 to the inside clip to the final outer zone, and we're in for another heater of a battle.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's take another look. Stanislav out front, using every bit of track that he can to initiate and plants it on that track edge for outside zone number 1. Brandon Patrick bumper to bumper through that first transition and right up onto the door in outside zone number 2. There they go up the hill, midline into outside zone number 3. Brandon Patrick once more right along the bumper through the Manji section of the course, and a good dive and into the pocket in outside zone number 5. Once more bumper to bumper, maybe a tiny little bit of contact. There they go, working their way around that inside clip and across finish line.
Now back around at the start line, ready for the second half of their battle to see who will advance on to face Ethan in the top 8. Will it be Brandon Patrick? Will it be Stanislav Tarasov? They initiate into outer zone 1, not as deep off the initiation, but slowly works his way out there as Brandon Patrick. But Stanislav keeping it right there on the door through all of outer zone 1. They come into outer zone 2. And again, right on the door is Stanislav to that BMW Z4. They come into outer zone 3 now, pushing to that track edge as they come through outer zone 4, back down into 5. Stanislav has not moved from Brandon Patrick's door. They transition to outer zone 6, then 7, through that inside clip. Look at that, finishing out side by side once more.
Oh my goodness gracious. Will we have a decision? Let's take another look. Brandon Patrick initiating in, picks up that throttle, jumps off that track edge just a little bit, but quickly gets that car back out there to that track edge. Stanislav right there with him, makes a similar dive into outside zone 2, staying right along. Good line heading up the hill from Brandon Patrick and filling outside zone number 3, but almost getting pushed through the zone from Stanislav Tarasov into outside zone number 5. Does Stanislav a better job there? It's tough. Oh my goodness. And then A big dive there into the last and final turn. Nice and smooth around the inside clip. Finishing out their one more time battle. Again, will we have a decision here in the top 16 between these two? Brandon Patrick on the left, Stanislav Tarasov on the right. I just sent him again already.
They're looking over the footage. They're watching it in slow-mo. They're calculating data points. I don't know what the judges do. I'm just here. Looking at the tread depth. I don't know.
They're all just yelling at each other. Brandon gets the win. No, Stanislav gets the win.
It could just be all out pandemonium in the judges' tower.
Carl's
right now,
just sitting there in the middle.
Oh, here we go. Sleep,
oh!
You know.
Do we have a decision? It's a split decision. Stanislav Tarasov gets the win. Chris and Carl go right for Stanislav. Ed goes left for Brandon Patrick. Stanislav finds himself in the top 8. What a battle between those two. Could have gone either way.
It definitely could have. It was super close and always exciting to see. But now that we have T-Con back, we did some math in the background. And if he finishes 3rd or higher, he overtakes Allen in the championship. He still has some ground to make up, but if he finishes 4th, he matches Allen going into the final round. So, in our lead lane is none other than T-Con the Robot Polessky up against Alexander Jägard in the E90 BMW. The lights go on, and this top 16 battle's underway. T-Con initiates in. Alexander right there with him, matching the angle through outer zone 1 and getting right on the door just about to T-Con Polessky as they transition over to outer zone 2. T-Con keeping it right at the track edge there as Alex puts on the pressure through the first half of the course. Coming through outer zone 3, leaving the room for the transition down the hill. Now back up it as he really starts to dive onto the door through outer zone 5 and show T-Con I'm still here as they come through outer zone 6 and 7 to that inside clip, losing a bit of ground there to the finish.
Yeah, let's take another look on the replay. Still here in the top 16, T-Con Polessky initiating in. Alexander Jägard going after it. Almost a little bit, maybe too much angle, but makes it work. Staying with T-Con out front. Working their way up the hill now. Almost a little bit of contact there in that transition heading up the hill. Good transition for 4. Heading into 5 now. Working his way through that big outside zone. Alexander Jägard still applying great pressure, matching the line and angle, but does get left behind just a little bit there around that inside clip. And we'll flip him around for the second half of their battle.
And flip him around indeed will do. Alexander Jägard now in the lead lane. Tikhon Polessky ready to hunt him down. In the second half of this battle, only one can advance on as the lights go on and down the straight they come, lighting up the tires the whole way down, initiating in is Alexander Jägard as Tikhon Polessky sticks right with them as they come through outer zone 1, now into outer zone 2. Looking good for Alexander Jägard's lead right along that track edge for outer zone 2 and right along the track edge for outer zone 3. Tikhon Polessky, though, not moving off the door, sticking right there on the bumper as they come into outer zone 5. Look at that proximity from Tikhon, just barely backing out of it before they have to transition once more. Only 2 spots remain in the top 8, and this is anyone's battle.
Yeah, but we did see quite the mistake from Alexander Jägard in outside zone number 7. Let's take another look. Great initiation, filling outside zone number 1. Tikhon applying that robotic pressure in that chase position, staying with him through outside zone number 1. Here they go up the hill, bumper to bumper through that transition, filling outside zone number 3. Alexander doing a fantastic job out front, but drops a little bit of tire for 4. And here we go into outside zone number 5, where Tikhon sticks it to the door of the BMW out front. Good transition across, picks up throttle early, and we see Alexander doesn't get into outside zone number 7 really at all. And we'll go to our judges. Tikhon on the left, Alexander Jägard on the right. And there it is. Tikhon Polessky gets the win. Unanimous victory over Alexander Jägard. And we've got just one more battle left here in the top 16.
Tikhon moving on, furthering his points in the championship to try and catch Alan Hynes. Now, the final battle of the top 16 before we go into the top 8. Victor Lasheras in the lead in the FCRX7 up against Artem Chulkov in that BMW. The lights go on and off we go to finish out the top 16. Initiating in is Victor Lasheras, but all over the door is Artem Chulkov through outer zone 1. They leave outer zone 1 and transition to outer zone 2. And Artem just wheel to wheel through outer zone 2 in that chase as they come up to outer zone 3. Victor keeping it just as close to that track edge as you can get as they come through outer zone 4, now into 5. Artem falling off course, dropping a tire, maybe carrying too much speed into outer zone 5, and then touching the rear end of Victor Lasheras' FC as they come through that final hairpin and cross the line.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Victor Lasheras out front, initiating in, picking up that throttle and filling outside zone number 1. Great pressure being applied from Artem Chulkov in that chase position, bumper to bumper through that first transition. Could have been a little bit deeper there in that pocket for outside zone number 2, but Victor Lasheras on a tear here out front in this lead position. Artem still right there, applying some pressure, bumper to bumper through those transitions, and there we see him fall off the back of outside zone number 5. Drops back quite a bit, but then does a good job with this last and final dive for the final turn, and there they go across that finish line.
Back around at the start line, Artem Chulkov now in the lead lane. Victor Lasheras ready to chase him down to see who will go up against Tikhon Polessky in the top 8. The light goes on and off they go for the second half of this battle. Initiating in is Artem Chulkov with lots of speed. Victor quickly getting up, but tapping Artem Chulkov in outer zone 1. He goes, I believe that was 3 off there for outer zone 1, but he somehow gets it back on track and keeps it in drift. They'll continue out this run, but I think it'll all come down to that turn 1 contact as they come through outer zone 5. Now Victor just trying his best to stick with the speed of Artem as they come through outer zone 5, now into 6 and 7 to that inside clip through outer zone 8 and finish out the run.
Yeah, let's take a second look at it here. Artem out front, initiating in, picking up that throttle. Yeah, Victor just a little bit on the inside there. Does make a little bit of contact, shoving Artem off the track. It'll be up to whether Artem was on throttle. It looked like he was on throttle, but if he was using maybe too much foot brake, it didn't quite seem that way. They continue on. Victor Lasheras still applying some pressure, bumper to bumper through that transition. And then working that car around that inside clip. A little bit too tight to the inside clip out front. But is it even going to matter? Let's go to those judges. Victor Lasheras on the left. Artem Chulkov on the right. Our last and final top 16 battle here before heading into the top 8. And there it is. They go right for Artem Chulkov. He gets the win over Victor Lasheras. And we'll pull up our top 16 bracket and look at how it played out. Vitaly Isaev and Daniel Andrejev will face each other in the top 8. Darius Ostreika and Sullivan, Stanislav Tarasov and Ethan Minnema, Tikhon Polessky and Artem Chulkov all up next here in the top 8. We'll switch these out. And there it is. Top 8. Vitaly Isaev and Daniel Andrejev up next. Take your screenshots if you need to, if you'd like to follow along, and we'll bring up the bracket when needed.
So now we're into the top 8. Almost done with round number 5 of the Virtual Drift Championship. Not many spots remain to finish it out. Vitaly Isaev, our number 1 qualifier of the day, slots into the lead lane. Daniel Andrejev in the chase position. They're ready to go to start things off in the top 8. Down straight, initiating it is Vitaly, looking good so far. Through outer zone 1. Beautifully done so far. Daniel right there on the door through outer zone 1, even giving maybe a little tap there through outer zone 2 in that chase. They transition up the hill to outer zone 3. Daniel right on the door of Vitaly as they come down to outer zone 4, now up to outer zone 5. Look at this masterclass between these two teammates here. They battled it out for the win at the last round, and now they're here in the top 8, going door to door and wheel to wheel as they cross that finish line.
Wow, nice and clean start to their top 8 battle. Vitaly out front, Daniel giving chase. Again, a rematch from round 4 finals where Vitaly led first as well. Working their way into outside zone 2, almost rubbing bumpers through that first transition. Definitely rubbing doors through that outside zone. Once more, bumper to bumper through that second transition into outside zone 3. Now down into 4. And just staying right with him is Daniel Andrejev in that chase position. Matching line and angle nicely. Vitaly, again, out front, putting down a solid lead run. Getting around that inside clip. Looks like he stayed off the rumble. And we'll flip it around for the second half.
And flipped around, indeed they are. Daniel now in the lead lane. Vitaly ready to chase him down. Current Rookie of the Year in the chase. Both of these guys want to advance on. They initiate in. Daniel along that track edge. Vitaly as close as you could possibly be through outer zone 1, especially on the transition towards outer zone 2. Putting on the pressure here to Daniel. Through the first 3 outer zones, Daniel trying to keep it as close to that track edge as he can, but Vitaly giving him no breathing room to make any sort of mistake or let off the throttle. Gets into the door, but sticks with Daniel through outer zone 5, down into outer zone 6 and 7. There's still wheel to wheel, there's still door to door, and I won't be mad if this goes to a one more time.
Absolutely. Let's take a second look on the replay. Daniel Andrejev out front, initiating in, picking up that throttle, and Vitaly in that chase position, staying right there with him, applying quite a bit of pressure through outside zone number 1, nice and clean into outside zone number 2 as well, staying with him up the hill, bumper to bumper through that transition, and almost shoving him through outside zone number 3, backing off, bumper to bumper once more through the Manji section of the course, and then right up onto the door of Daniel Andrejev out front. Good final transition, picking up that throttle early, working their way around that inside clip, and there they go, crossing the finish line. We go to our judges here for the first time in the top 8 for round 5. Vitaly on the left, Daniel on the right. Do we have a winner. Ooh, and a split call. It's all down to Carl now, and he goes right. Daniel Andrejev gets the win over Vitaly Isaev again, this time in the top 8. Wow.
Vitaly and Daniel duke it out again. Daniel again pulls through and moves on. Do we see back-to-back wins with Daniel? As we have our next battle at the line to see who will face Daniel in the top 4. Darius Ostreika in the chase lane, ready to go up against last year's champion Zach O'Sullivan in the E36. The lights go on and this battle's quickly underway. Down the straight they come and initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Zach O'Sullivan putting it right to the track edge. Darius Ostreika sticking right with him through outer zone 1 as they transition along the bumper, and now are wheel to wheel through outer zone 2 as they try to get on power to get up the hill and stick it all the way to the track edge at the top of outer zone 3. Now down the hill through outer zone 4. Darius Ostreika making those transitions super close to the bumper and just staying in the pocket of the E36. Zach O'Sullivan through outer zone 7. They come to that inside clip. One more outer zone to go, and they finish out the run nose to tail.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Zach O'Sullivan out front and putting down a great lead line for Darius Ostreika to take advantage of, and Darius, I think, took great advantage of it. Does end up a little bit on the inside there of outside zone number 2, giving Zach a couple of taps there. Now heading into outside zone number 3, reels him in quickly, falls back for that transition, and then right back into it for outside zone number 5. Matching line and angle good. Could be maybe a little bit closer, but he's tight on the transition. They fill outside zone number 7 around the inside clip and finishing out the first half of their battle.
Well, now back around and ready for the second half of the battle. Darius Ostreika now lead lane. Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, lighting the tires up the whole way, initiating in. Darius Ostreika looking good into outer zone 1, getting right to that track edge. Zach O'Sullivan sticking right in the pocket through outer zone 1 as they transition to outer zone 2. Zach quickly regaining that proximity and giving him a little tap there on the rear quarter panel as they come up through outer zone 3. Zach keeping it on the door through outer zone 3, down through outer zone 4, and now into outer zone 5. Zach applying all the pressure here, keeping it right on the door all the way through to the transition point into outer zone 6 and 7 through the inside clip, and leaving it on the door past the finish line.
Yeah, an interesting way to get that last and final turn done from Zach O'Sullivan. Let's take another look here. Entering in and filling outside zone number 1 is Darius Ostreika. Zach O'Sullivan applying that pressure and makes a dive into outside zone number 2. A little bit of contact there, but I think it's fair. It kind of seemed to push Darius back onto a semi-correct line heading up the hill. We want those drivers in the middle of the track, not too far track right, and then the quick reel in the outside zone number 5, and then through this we hear Zach just stay on throttle and use his foot brake there down into outside zone number 7, makes it work. They cross the finish line and we go to our judges. Darius Ostreika on the left, Zach O'Sullivan on the right. Winner moves on into the top 4. And it looks like we have a split call. Chris and Carl go right for Zach O'Sullivan. Ed chooses a one more time, but that's going to be enough to give Zach the win, and he'll move on into the final 4 to face Daniel Andrejev.
Still, what a good drive there from Darius Ostreika. And we'll see Zach a little later on, as we have our next battle at the line ready to go here for the top 8 of the Virtual Drift Championship. Ethan Minnema in the lead lane in the E36 up against Stanislav Tarasov in that Mercedes AMG GT. The lights go on, and this next top 8 battle is underway. Down the straight they come. Initiating in is Ethan, looking good off the initiation, getting right to that track edge. But Stanislav putting that AMG right on the door of that BMW as they transition into outer zone 2, holding it right to the track edge. That AMG is going nowhere as they transition to outer zone 3 now. Still glued to the door is Stanislav to Ethan Minnema as they come through the Manji section into outer zone 5. And look at that proximity. Look at that aggression from the chase as they come into outer zone 6 and 7. Getting that big AMG slowed down to keep it right alongside the door of Ethan while they cross the line.
Yeah, let's go back to that replay here in the top 8, first half of their battle. Ethan Minnema entering in, working his way to that outside track edge, but Stanislav applying some pressure in that chase position right along the bumper through that first transition and following him through outside zone number 2. Good line heading up the hill, good transition into outside zone number 3. Ethan filling it all the way good down the little valley here and back up into outside zone number 5, where Stanislav again can't be shaken off. Last and final transition, nice and smooth from Ethan out front. Really on a great lead line, but Stanislav doing his job in that chase position.
Well, now we'll see how Ethan can respond to that chase, as now Stanislav will be leading. Ethan will be chasing him down. No, the lights go on, but I think Ethan had a problem there, saying he couldn't see the lights. So we see Stanislav continuing his run. Doing a good job at it. I'm not too sure here, Craig, on the technical end of that. If one driver could see the lights, the other one couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know why anything would have changed from, the first half of the battle. And the way he kept backing up and stuff like that. I mean, the drivers are in the Discord with the rest of the staff as well. I don't see why, he couldn't have came over voice as well. Let's take another look at it. Yeah, we don't really get to see it, but before the battle started, we did see Ethan backing up. So I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll wait and see if we can hear something from our judges here. Let the replay play out. I mean, Stanislav nailed his lead run here, filling the zones, getting around that inside clip. He just didn't have a chase driver with him.
And I mean, from a driver perspective too, you went out there and you did your lead run, and now you have to go do another one. But what if that one was the run? It adds a whole nother layer to the story that is being foretold here. And
yeah, absolutely. And again, even though he has a clear pause and is backing up, the chase can really kind of line up wherever they like to. But they have an ample opportunity to also say something in voice inside the Discord. And I don't think that was communicated, but I think the judges are maybe going over it with them.
Yeah, because I saw it in the sort of Corsa chat is where I saw it. That's why I was like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the most appropriate place to do it, but we'll see. Well, when we don't use it as a form of communication during the events and everyone's in a Discord together, then You know, like me, if I had an AC chat up, it would be on the stream.
Yep. Yeah, I mean a quick flip of your, push to talk. Just, hey, whoa, something's going on. I can't see. I need to call my competition timeout or whatever the case may be. But I see Stanislav backing up.
And it's odd too for the light to suddenly not be visible after they just ran a run. He had to leave the line in time as the lead driver. So we'll see. Overhearing from the judges, they are going to give it to Stanislav Tarasov as again.
Yeah,
not using the right form of communication, really, and needs to be, said in advance before the lights start counting down. I think that's also what happened is after the lights started counting down.
Yeah, not too sure on those logistics, but I think it's the right call from the judges. I mean, we're pretty anal on that on legs, so I don't see them doing that with this call as well. But let's get back into a happier place, a more fun place. We have Tikhon Polessky, who's ever so closer to getting and matching Alan Hynes in this championship, but he's got Artem Chulkov to contend with as they come into Outer Zone 1, and they are side by side through Outer Zone 1, probably the most shallow I've seen Tikhon through Outer Zone 1 this whole day, as they come through Outer Zone 2, now up to Outer Zone 3. Tikhon putting it right along the track edge of Outer Zone 3, but Artem Chulkov not giving him any room for error here as they transition along the bumper, and now Artem puts his fender on the door of Tikhon Polessky. They come through Outer Zone 6, but some contact made there from the chase. So he looked like he was trying to surge up, but didn't predict it right, and they finish out side by side.
Yeah, a little scrappy start to this top 8 battle. Tikhon out front, doing a good job with outside zone number 1. Artem applying some pressure, almost pushing him through that first outside zone. And then here we go into outside zone number 2, and we see Tikhon add quite a bit of angle and start driving up the right-hand side of that track quite a bit, cutting off Artem Chulkov in that chase position, but Artem deals with it nicely, continuing on, filling outside zone number 4, now outside zone number 5, working their way through it, and Artem giving him a little shove once more, last and final transition, and then a little bit of contact there, but Tikhon still nailing the inside clip there, maybe a little bit of help from Artem Chulkov in that chase position.
Well, now we'll see the second half of this battle and who takes the last spot in the top 4. Will it be Artem Chulkov? Will it be Tikhon Polessky? If Tikhon Polessky makes it to the top 4 and gets 4th place, he matches Alan Hynes in points. If he goes even further, he beats Alan Hynes in points. So they initiate into Outer Zone 1 and right along each other through Outer Zone 1. That was an insane initiation. I almost thought Tikhon was going to crash as they leave Outer Zone 1 and some contacts made into Outer Zone 2. Maybe Artem going too slow, maybe too much speed from Tikhon. It's weird to see as they come through Outer Zone 3, down to Outer Zone 4, now into Outer Zone 5. Tikhon applying that pressure, keeping it right on the door of Artem Chulkov. They transition to Outer Zone 6, now 7. They get those beamers slowed down as Tikhon rides the door of Artem Chulkov past that finish line.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here. Artem out front, burning him down the run up, but Tikhon, yeah, maybe some contact there in outside zone number 1, pushing him along into outside zone number 2 there, and some contact once more as they continue on a little bit track right, but again, we did have some contact in outside zone 2. It does slow you down up front when that does happen, filling outside zone number 4 and into outside zone number 5. We do see a little bit of left foot brake from Artem heading into outside zone number 5, and a big transition to finish things off around that inside clip. Tikhon pushing him along, and we go to our judges. Final time here in the top 8. Do we have a winner? Tikhon Polessky or Artem Chulkov?
again, the judges are screaming at each other.
Throwing their teacups.
Throwing their teacups. Checking the tread depth. The slow-mos.
The tea's gone cold!
Put the tea in the bag.
And we do have a decision, and it's going to be a one more time. They're going to line him back up here for the final battle of the top 8.
I like this trend. One more time battle per group. Been a thing. We'll see if he continues on in the top 4.
Watch him run out of sunlight.
Oh yeah, that's the thing on this track, and I don't think we have lights.
No, there are no lights on this track, unfortunately. But no, I think we'll be fine.
We shouldn't run out of daylight. We should be okay. If not, they got headlights.
I think sunset is 6 p.m. on their local time. So local track time as well here in the game should be the same.
Well, let's blast through this then. The one more time battle to see who takes the last spot in the top 4. Polessky looking to up his advantage towards Alan Hynes in the points. Artem Chulkov wanting to advance further in this round. As they come through outer zone 1, Artem Chulkov matching him perfectly through outer zone 1. Now they come into outer zone 2. Wheel to wheel and door to door. They leave outer zone 2 towards outer zone 3. Artem Chulkov not giving him any breathing room, but Tikhon doing a great job out front, putting his Beamer exactly where it needs to be as they come into outer zone 5. A little touch there from Artem in that chase with a little bit of bobbling through outer zone 5 as they come through 6 and 7 towards that inside clip and fiddle out outer zone 8 and finish out the run.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Tikhon Polessky out front. Last and final battle here in the top 8 and a one more time. Filling outside zone number 1. Artem almost pushing him through the zone. Bumper to bumper through the transition. A little contact there in outside zone number 2. Nice midline heading up the track into outside zone number 3 now. Filling forward down in the little valley. Artem still making a dive into outside zone number 5 and staying with Tikhon nice and clean through the last and final transition as well around that inside clip. Both of them staying off that curve and across that finish line.
Well, we're ready for the second half of this one more time battle. One spot remains. Only one of them can move on. Artem Chulkov now in the lead. Tikhon Polessky ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go. Lighting up the tires all the way down the straight, initiating into outer zone 1, wheel to wheel through the initiation and outer zone 1. Tikhon showing mad aggression here in outer zone 1 as they make the transition to outer zone 2, right along the track edge, but dropping a tire for Artem Chulkov in the lead as they come through to outer zone 3, getting back out to that track edge. But look at Tikhon right there going, you make one mistake and it's over. I'm here. As they come through outer zone 5 door to door. Now the final few outer zones to go and some contact there from Tikhon into Artem through that inside clip, but they still finish out the run.
Yeah, they do, but is that gonna be enough? Holy moly, Artem Chulkov out front. Tikhon applying pressure quickly in outside zone number 1. Stays with him nicely, backs up for that first transition, dives in, doesn't make any contact through outside zone number 2, but we see a little tire drop from Artem Chulkov in outside zone number 2, clean through 3. Tikhon staying right there with him, bumper to bumper through the transitions, heading into outside zone number 5 now, all the way along that track edge, staying with him. Good transition down into the final turn, and there is the little bit of contact. We see the foot brake being applied, trying to keep it together, and we go to our judges. Is it going to come down to that contact? Tikhon Polessky on the left, Artem Chulkov on the right. Winner moves on into the final 4. Yeah, and there it is. Tikhon Polessky gets the win over Artem Chulkov, excuse me. does come down to that contact, and yeah, as a couple of you called it out in chat, a little bit odd on that decel. So let's bring up our bracket. There it is. Daniel Andrejev and Zach Sullivan, Stanislav Tarasov, and Tikhon Polessky all find themselves in the final four. We'll switch those brackets. And there it is. Up next, Daniel Andrejev and Zach Sullivan.
And here we go at the line, ready to start off the top four. Zach Sullivan, Daniel Andrejev. Zach in the E36 leading, initiates into outer zone 1, looking good. Daniel right there on the door, though, through outer zone 1, going wheel to wheel as they start the transition to outer zone 2. Daniel giving him no breathing room, but Zach putting the car exactly where it needs to be on that track edge. Look at that, beautifully done. Driving off a little early maybe, though, as they come down to outer zone 4. Daniel Andrejev transitioning along the bumper, giving Zach maybe a little bit of a tap there as you see him wiggling and waving in that chase position through outer zone 5. Now they come through outer zone 6 and 7. Zach Sullivan doing a great job out front, but the pressure from Daniel, he wants to move forward.
Yeah, he certainly does, going for a back-to-back, at least podium here. Zach Sullivan out front, filling outside zone number 1. Nicely done by him into outside zone number 2 as well, but Daniel Andrejev still applying pressure. Great line heading up the hill, leaving Daniel some room there for that transition, filling outside zone 3 now. 4 heading up into outside zone number 5, and then back down the hill with a couple of taps from that chase position. Last and final transition, nicely done from Zach out front, and Daniel Andrejev in that chase position, still applying pressure across that finish line.
And now back around at the start gate, ready to go again. Daniel now in the lead. Zach Sullivan ready to chase him down. Only one advances on. One goes to the third place matchup. The lights go on and off they go down the straight, initiating in. Looking good off the initiation right along that track edge, but look at that. Zach all over the door through outer zone 1 as they transition to outer zone 2. Zach loses a bit of ground, but quickly regains it as they leave outer zone 2 up towards outer zone 3. Right along that track edge for Daniel through outer zone 3 as now they come through 4 up to 5. That was a super close transition, and they go wheel to wheel through outer zone 5. No bobbling through that outer zone for Zach as some tire lockups happen to get that inside clip, and they finish out wheel to wheel and door to door.
Yeah, let's check it out. Daniel Andrejev out front, leading Zach Sullivan in the second half of their top 4 battle, working their way through outside zone number 1. Daniel doing a good job with it. Zach making a dive in outside zone number 2, staying with him, working their way up the hill now, leaving a bit of room, but quite a slow rotation from Daniel Andrejev. Zach doing a good job to deal with it and getting right back up into the pocket. And here we are with outside zone number 5. Trying to match that line and angle down into the last and final turn around the inside clip. Zach right there with him, pushing him across the finish line, and we'll go to our judges here in the final 4. Daniel Andrejev on the left, Zach Sullivan on the right. Winner moves on into the finals. They're fighting again.
I would believe so. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Zach Sullivan gets the win over Daniel Andrejev and moves on into the finals. Daniel Andrejev will stick around for his third place battle. But our next top 4 battle coming right up, Stanislav Tarasov and Tikhon Polessky. This is going to be a crazy one.
Wow. I mean, all the battles today have been crazy, and now we're coming down to the last few. Here we go. Waiting for them to get in their cars and drive them around. Get to the line, boys. I wanna do this. So around the corner comes Tikhon Polessky, looking to jump Alan Hynes in the points. Then trying to stop his reign and maybe move a little further in the competition, up a little higher in the points, and maybe take a win home. Stanislav Tarasov in that AMG GT in the chase lane. Both drivers are ready. One advances on to the finals. The other goes to see Daniel Andrejev in the 3rd place matchup. Here we go. The lights go on and the battle is underway. Tikhon Polessky initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Stanislav right there on the door though through outside zone 1 as they make the transition into outer zone 2. Tikhon keeping it right along the track edge, but Stanislav again giving him no breathing room. They make the transition to outer zone 3. Keeping it on throttle and keeping that throttle buried as they come through outer zone 4 into outer zone 5. Stanislav gets it right up on the door, matching that angle out of outer zone 5. Now into 6, maybe a little tap there as they come through that inside clip and out through outer zone 8 and finish out the first half of this run.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Tikhon Polessky out front, initiating in and filling outside zone number 1, working all of the way out there to that track edge. But so is Stanislav, and in the pocket of the BMW out front. Nice job in the outside zone number 2 as well, and working up the hill. Could have been a little bit more mid-track as Tikhon, but Stanislav making it work in that chase position. Great transitions through the Manji section of the course as well, and there we see smoke go away. If it wasn't AC, I would have said Tikhon broke an axle in the outside zone number 5 as it was the inside wheel. I'm not sure what went on there, but they finished out the run smooth.
They do, and they still have another half of the run. Stanislav now in the lead lane. Tikhon Polessky ready to chase him down. They watch those lights as they illuminate for the last time in this battle. Initiating in, Stanislav right there alongside Tikhon Polessky. Maybe some contact putting Stanislav off into the dirt, but he quickly regains as he transitions into outer zone 2. Tikhon still applying the pressure here as they transition up to outer zone 3. Right along that track edge goes Stanislav. Tikhon trying to keep that pressure up as they come through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Right along the door is Tikhon, giving him a little tap there, saying, I'm still here and I want to move on to the finals. Another tap from Tikhon in that chase. He goes up on the rumble strip, and they both finish out side by side. What a scrappy final run.
Yeah, let's take another look here as Stanislav Tarasov out front and Tikhon chasing him down and kind of pushing him through the course there. We see some contact, maybe leading to a bit of a tire drop there from Stanislav out front, and now they make their first transition. Tikhon applying some pressure in the outside zone number 2. They work their way up the hill. Nice middle line from Stanislav, filling outside zone number 3. Tikhon going after it through these transitions and into outside zone number 5. We're almost pushing him through. Almost some contact there in outside 5. A little bit on the inside of outside zone 6 and 7 with a bit of contact from Tikhon. So I could see an argument there that a little bit of contact from Tikhon Polessky in that chase position might have been warranted. We go to our judges. Stanislav on the left, Tikhon Polessky on the right. The winner moves on into the finals. And there it is. Stanislav does get the win over Tikhon Polessky, and Tikhon, it will still again hang around for that 3rd place battle against Daniel Andrejev.
Well, now things get exciting. I mean, they're already been exciting, but now Tikhon If he loses this, he matches Allen in points. If he wins this, he still passes Allen, so he has a little bit of a leeway going into the final round. Anything can happen here. Tikhon Polessky now in the lead lane. Daniel Andrejev in the chase. This is for your third place matchup. Someone's going home with third place. The lights go on and off they go. Tikhon Polessky initiates in. Daniel Andrejev right there with them, going wheel to wheel through outer zone 1. Not as deep as Polessky's normally been through outer zone 1, but still keeps it together as they make the transition into outer zone 2, right along the track edge. But on the door, it still is Daniel Andrejev as they make the transition to outer zone 3. No room for error through outer zone 3, down through the Manji section now to outer zone 5. And look at Daniel planting it on the door of Tikhon, saying, I'm here and I want this just as bad, as they come through outer zone 6 and 7. Up on the rumble strip goes Daniel Andrejev in that chase, but they finish out side by side.
Yeah, insanity. Let's take another look here on the replay. Tikhon Polessky out front and initiating in, picking up that throttle, staying along that track edge with Daniel Andrejev going after it against Tikhon, making that first transition bumper to bumper, staying with him in the outside zone number 2, working their way up the hill, opening the doors. Tikhon staying on a midline, filling outside zone number 3, really pours on quite a bit of angle there while leaving outside zone 3. Daniel dealing with it, and then right up onto the door of Tikhon Polessky in outside zone number 5. Final transition, filling outside zone 6 and 7, maybe a little bit deeper in 7, but there they go across that finish line.
Well, back around at the start line, ready to duke it out for the second half of this battle. Daniel Andrejev in the lead. Tikhon Polessky ready to chase him down. The lights go on. One takes third, one goes home without being on that podium. Initiating into outer zone 1. Tikhon Polessky applying all the pressure, but Daniel going looked a little slow there. Maybe just Tikhon was offline. I didn't really catch the first half of that initiation. As they come through outer zone 3, now on the door is still Tikhon Polessky. Daniel putting that car exactly where it needs to be. They come up to outer zone 5 and look at Tikhon right on the door, matching that angle as they transition down to outer zone 6 and 7 now. Tikhon not giving up any room, putting it right on the door, and they finish out side by side.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Daniel Andrejev this time out front in this third place battle. Last podium position available, and Daniel Andrejev filling outside zone number 1. Tikhon leaving outside zone number 1 a little early, but gets into 2 right in the pocket of Daniel Andrejev out front. Bumper to bumper through that transition into outside zone number 3. Down into 4 now. Once more bumper to bumper into outside zone number 5, 6, and now 7 down to the inside clip. And across that finish line, we go to our judges. Daniel Andrejev on the left, Tikhon Polessky on the right. Winner takes home third place.
I mean, what a show that these guys put on for us, and I knew it was going to happen. I just had to start talking.
And it is going to be a split call, but Daniel Andrejev is going to take home third position here in round 5 at Luddenham Raceway. Congratulations to Daniel Andrejev. What a third place battle.
Absolutely unreal. Congrats to Daniel for making it all the way to third, and to Tikhon for matching Allen in the points. So going into the last round, it's anyone's game. As now we move on, the moment we've all been waiting for, the final battle of round 5, the Virtual Drift Championship. We'll start it off with the first half and then do the big spiel on the second half. So, Zach O'Sullivan in the lead lane. Stanislav Tarasov in the chase. Zach in the E36. Stanislav in the Mercedes AMG GT. Down the straight they come for what could be the final, well, not the final time, the first half of the final battle, initiating into outer zone 1, going wheel to wheel through outer zone 1 as they come out of it into outer zone 2. Along that track edge, Zach O'Sullivan holding it down, but Stanislav keeping it right there to the door as they come through outer zone 3, down to outer zone 4, now up to 5. Stanislav giving him absolutely no breathing room. They come through outer zone 5, down to 6. Zach locks up that front tire, trying to get that E36 slowed down for that inside line. Look at that, Stanislav right there on the rear quarter.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. First half of the final battle. And Zach gets off to a crazy start, filling outside zone number 1, but Stanislav reels him in quickly towards the back half of outside zone number 1 and stays with him through outside zone number 2, working their way up the hill now. Good line from Zach O'Sullivan out front, filling outside zone number 3 now at the top of the hill, down the little valley for 4, and a quick snappy transition into outside zone number 5, where Stanislav applies some pressure throughout the entire outside zone number 5 and staying with him around this last and final turn. There they go across that finish line, and we flip them around for the final battle.
The final battle is upon us. Round 5 of the Virtual Drift Championship in partnership with Grip Royal Sim Magic and Yoka Design. We're here for what could be the final time. If it doesn't go to a one more time, we hope it doesn't. So, Stanislav Tarasov in the lead. Zach O'Sullivan chasing him down. The lights go on, and here we go. Initiating in, Stanislav looking good off the initiation. Zach maybe pulling a little too much out of it. Had to back out, but then quickly regains that proximity onto the door. They transition into outer zone 2, and now Zach's right on the attack, leaving it right on the door through outer zone 2, with leaving that room for the transition to outer zone 3. Door to door as they make the transition down the Manji section. Transitioning along the bumper, Zach loses a bit of ground, but quickly regains it as he gets right up onto the bumper of Stanislav. They go through outer zone 6 and 7, through the inside clip, door to door, wheel to wheel, crossing the line, and it is anyone's battle.
Goodness. Yeah, I'm not so sure if we are going to have a decision here. So we take another look. Initiating in is Stanislav. Could have had a little bit more angle there upon lining off those tires in outside zone 1. He eventually gets to it. Here's outside zone number 2 as well, working his way through. Zach staying right there with him, and then quite the slow rotation heading up the hill. Right there is where he finally gets into the angle that I really think is necessary for that outside zone. And then a good job through outside zone number 5. Zach reeling him in, backing off for the final transition. Good job by both of them around this last and final turn. Stanislav maybe a little bit far on the inside. We want to see the leads off that rumble strip. Is very close, very hard to tell, but we go to our judges. Do we have a decision here for the finals for round number 5 here at Luddenham Raceway? Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Stanislav Tarasov on the right. Big shout out to everyone that tuned in today. We hope you all enjoyed the round. I certainly did. It turned out to be quite the insane event. Hold on, we do have a decision. It is a split one so far. Chris goes left, Ed goes right, Carl goes left. Zach O'Sullivan gets the win. That's back-to-back wins for him after coming off a win in Virtual Drift Masters. Now taking home the win here for round 5, Luddenham Raceway. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Stanislav Tarasov and Daniel Andrejev. Our podium will pull up the bracket there. Zach O'Sullivan taking home the win.
And now the championship just got a lot more better too.
A lot more better indeed.
A lot more better.
So yeah, that'll definitely bring Zach a little bit closer to that championship run. Same with Tikhon Polessky. And I believe they're going to take their victory 4-man train.
Tikhon deserves to be in there. Get in there.
And there they are, looking like a pack of Skittles. Heading up the hill. It's that bright green from Tikhon. I like it. Saw a couple of people calling it the Ben 10 car. Oh my goodness gracious, look at him in outside zone number 5. Oh no, Zach said yeet off the course. And there they go. We'll save that. Congratulations to those drivers. Once again, we'll bring up that final bracket there. Sullivan taking home the win. Stanislav taking second place. Daniel Andrejev third, and Tikhon Polessky in fourth. So yeah, that ties Tikhon and Alan for championship points now?
So where we're at right now, Alan Hynes is still in the lead by 10 points. He has 372. Tikhon with 362. Sullivan with 338, and Vitaly Isaev with 298 or 295. So realistically, the final battle can go to anyone in the final round. It'll be tougher for the two up top, but like if they get knocked out early, if Zach comes in with a win, he wins. Vitaly could win. It is anyone's championship into the final round.
It certainly is, which we will have a slight date change on that last and final round. Ends up conflicting with FD or Orlando, so I believe we're going to move it to the 24th, but we'll confirm and we'll get it posted as soon as possible for that last and final round. Same with that finals track. What is it gonna be? We've had I've really enjoyed the tracks this season. I hope everyone else has as well. I've heard a lot of good things. I will release this track later tonight. Need to get some dinner. Probably watch F1 qualifying while I eat that dinner, and then make a teeny tiny little update and get it released out onto our Discord. Oh my goodness, he just Anyways, the final battle was. Yeah, that was insane. This whole entire event, the track a little difficult, no buffer walls here and there. If you drop a tire, you drop a tire, and it is super obvious. Not the widest track, but I mean the battles were crazy.
The battles were insane, and I mean, like I said, at the level that these guys are at, we got to throw them curveballs. We got to throw things that'll throw them off the norm. You can't just do the same 5 tracks every year. We gotta be able to be like, okay, what's this one gonna be like? And sometimes we have hits and misses, but hey, I liked this one. This one was cool. I can't wait to go drive this one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun indeed. Once it gets released, don't overthink that last and final hairpin turn. Just kind of huck the car on down there. As soon as you get into outside zone 6, just look at 7 and you'll be all right. I promise. But that's going to do it for round 5. I see a lot of people asking about where is the 5.0 pack. It's coming very, very soon. We are quite literally in the final stages. We were waiting on one little thing, and it has arrived. So stay tuned. Official date will be released very, very soon. We promise. It's worth the wait. Big update. Lots of stuffs. But that's it. Round 5 here at Luddenham Raceway. Thank you to our title sponsor, Sim Magic, Grip Roll, Joko Design, Ali Yusuf, and Horth and Mods, as well as all the staff in the background. Thanks to you, Tanner, for commentating with me today. And then our 3 judges, Chris, Ed, and Carl, as well as Cages running that light today, running the semaphore. And then we had Dion for a little while in the background before I think he fell asleep. He was quite sick, and Carl took over the names, but we made it through as we always do. So Stay tuned for the date for 5.0 and the date for the final round, and we'll see everyone soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Not a little.